Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everyone, to the 474th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse, found on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, everywhere you get your podcasts. With me today, Steve Wellings, Andy Patterson. There are some rematches which fail to deliver, and then there are those which just continue on with what was an exceptional fight the first time around. Such was the case with Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano last night, with Charlo getting a 10th round stoppage victory over Castano after he finally caught him with that great left hook, freezing Castano before he realized how fucked up he was and crumpled to the canvas, only to bravely get up, get waylaid, back down again after what was another exceptional fight. Steve, for me, this was a story really of three fights. Charlo kind of controlling the first few, Castano coming on strong 4 through 6, with Charlo reverting to boxing, starting the 7th round, only to finally cap it off with the right punch in the 10th round, finding those spots. And I think our thoughts last week were correct. Just the better fighter overall, more tools, and I think having the better corner really came into play.
Yeah, props to the corner, first of all. That was something that came into my mind. I tell you what, Matty, I think we've had two great fights between two evenly matched champions. And Jermell Charlo eventually showed he was the better man across, 22 rounds overall. And I think we'll look back in 10 or 20 years' time really fondly on these two matchups. Because don't forget the stakes that were involved here. This wasn't just a world-level fight. It wasn't just a unification, but it was an undisputed championship fight at the weight. And to produce these type of matchups at the highest level in boxing, it's fantastic. These fights define legacies. They define a generation. And many of the rounds were nip and tuck. I thought one man would have put a lot into one of them. He won the round. He got a 10-9, but then he couldn't maintain it the next round because of the amount of energy he'd exerted. And then the other guy took advantage. And on the knockout, Brian Castano's style, it always lends itself to the possibility of that kind of finish. It's a sudden flush shot, the one that you don't see coming, just removed him from his senses. And he's a risky fighter. Sometimes he's reckless. That's what makes him so exciting. But he's a risky fighter. He takes risks. And early on, I thought he was a lot more conservative, slightly guilty of doing what Oscar Valdez did the other week. I criticised Valdez against Shakur Stevenson for standing in range and not throwing. And I didn't feel Castano was active enough early on, given that Charlo doesn't like fighting at a pace. But Charlo just established the pace, he established the jab, countered well, fought at a pace that was comfortable for him to maintain. And everything in the corner, Derek James, as you mentioned, was all about the body for Charlo. It paid dividends in the end. I noticed a few little flaws in Castano. He leaned in, he was reaching, he was reluctant to commit too much, and he was getting counterpunched. And another thing I noticed about Castano was he squares up a lot when he throws the right hand. I saw that beforehand. I was watching the Michel Sorro fight. Sorro had success against him with a well-timed counter. Castano buzzes away. He works hard. The rounds are going by. He wasn't landing anything last night really significant at times. I think his strategy was about tiring Charlo late on in the fight, but Charlo showed a reasonable gas tank. As we approached the stretch, it served him well again on the night, and he landed the punch that mattered. Great fight.
Yes, it was definitely a treat last night. These fighters are great. Hopefully Castano finds another opportunity down the road, onwards and upwards for Jermell Charlo. I don't think he'd willingly get in with Castano again. I think that would have to be an earned rematch down the line. Andy, what were your thoughts on this fight? Was there a moment in there? There seemed to be some exchanges, especially around the 5th and the 6th round, where it looked like Castano might have found the answer. Only to get turned back by exceptional boxing by Charlo starting in the 7th.
Yeah, I got to agree with everything that Steve was saying. Actually, I thought Charlo started a wee bit quicker this time than what he did in the first fight. Kind of put the pressure on a wee bit, being aggressive, maybe just starting quicker. And then, as you said, Castano's probably come into the middle half, where Charlo's then maybe decided to kind of okay, I think I've won the first few rounds. I'll get back to my box. And he really did listen to his corner, I felt, as well. He mentioned his corner in his post-fight interview. And just to hear him say, actually, I don't think he was actually over-emotional before this fight, but he did state that he was a wee bit nervous. So maybe it was just the fact that he was living on his nerves a wee bit. It made him, just focus a wee bit extra. First of all, you got to congratulate Charlo as well, and Castano. They've both put in spirited fights. Castano brave, courageous, whatever you want to call it there last night as well. But also, as I mentioned last week, I just think he lacks that bit of power just to turn the tide a wee bit, because there was times he was catching Charlo there last night. But I felt that each time when Charlo countered or responded to him, I thought he was having the final answer in some of those exchanges. He was snapping back Castano's head. I thought Castano did a bit of stanky dance a couple of times. This is all before the first knockdown, which I think it was quite high, running about the temple area. So obviously the equilibrium's gone. He gets up, his feet are kind of really jelly by this point. And obviously, as you said, Charles went in there, waylaid him, and just basically ended the fight. So it was fantastic at the end of the day. But I think at the same time, Castano, I kind of got the impression with him he wanted to knock Charlo out, and he just took too many shots. And in the end, he's held his feet a wee bit too long, stayed in the pocket a wee bit too long. And as I says, I just felt that when Charlo countered him, especially with the left hook upstairs, he was really causing Castano a lot of problems. He was obviously throwing a few uppercuts, which Castano's probably open to, obviously with that kind of guard that he's got to head and body. So there are a few uppercuts going in there as well. So great fight. I just thought maybe Castano maybe disregarded his defence a wee bit as well, to be honest with you. But there was no losers there last night, obviously. I thought the fans probably, got a great fight. And I'll probably finish with saying I praise Beatty Al Heyman for the UK boxing fans, because he gave us a fight for free in the UK on YouTube. So that's a shout out to him as well. But I'll say is I thought one of the scorecards was at the 98-92. I thought that was a wee bit too wide. Clearly, any close rounds there, Charlo's probably got the benefit of every single one of them there. So just want to mention that as well.
Well, there's the same in the first fight. There was that one card that was just wide for Charlo, and they had a replay where they were showing where the judges' cards were at. And there was some in that first fight where I can't remember which judge's name. It made no real sense how he scored the round for Charlo. Seems to just be one of those guys that's going to get a card regardless. They do exist. But now I don't want to focus on the negatives there. Steve, I don't want to say that this was a fight of the year candidate. You might disagree with me, but I'm going to have to rewatch it. There were a few rounds in there that I think are going to at least have to be an honorable mention in some rounds of the year, because there were great exchanges in this fight.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There was a couple of rounds that stuck out for me. I thought the 5th round was an absolute cracker. They both laid it on the line together. I thought Castano took a flush shot at the end of the 4th, which he maybe didn't need to take, but Charlo's accuracy was catching him all night, and they both laid it on the line. I thought the 8th was quite a pivotal round. I thought Castano won the 8th, but Steve Farhood gave it to Charlo, and that was when the momentum started to swing in Charlo's favour, not because of Farhood, but I thought Castano, he had to take risks, as I mentioned, to win the fight, but Charlo had the edge in hand speed. So trading was always going to be a risky business for Castano. And in the end, he walked onto a peach of an uppercut hook, whatever it was. I only saw it at the time. I didn't see the replay and was finished off. But Castano always felt like he was chasing after about round 6 or 7. He started a little bit slower, was a little bit more reticent. Maybe it was strategic, maybe it was gas tank related. Charlo just looked sharper for me. But Castano just refused to bow out meekly. He should be applauded for his part in this fight. Get him in against somebody decent next time, give him a 10-rounder to shake things off again, and he can headline against someone like, I don't know, maybe a Tony Harrison or a Julian Williams. Williams against Castano, meeting head on, could be a pretty decent fight, and then that'll be his avenue back into the title fights. But the night belongs to Charlo for me, undisputed champion. I think he's the first one at 154 with all the 4 belts, and he maybe be looking to move up now. But there's a few people, biting at his heels now, the likes of Fundora, Tim Zhu, some exciting fights to come in the future. I don't want to steal your thunder, Matty, because I'm sure you're going to talk about those next. But one thing was Charlo, he's got a good beard on him. It's always been his gas tank that's concerned me, but he was eating a few right hands from Castano. I don't think Castano's as big of a puncher as what his record suggests, and Charlo's definitely got a good beard. But if you had some of these guys landing right hands on him, I mean, Sue's obviously green and he hasn't fought it anywhere near this kind of level, but someone with a bit of dig with that right hand, Charlo maybe wants to get that left up a little bit, and Derek James, I'm sure, will be looking at something like that in the future.
Well, and Castano's not a big man either. He just gets in and he pressures. So that'd be interesting to see.
Well, it was an interesting strategy from Castano, Matty, because they were looking for the left hook constantly. They thought, oh, it's going to be the left hook. That's a danger punch. But he was instead throwing the right hand, which Abner Mares correctly indicated was taking away Charlo's jab at times as well. So these are clever fighters in there. These are thinking men and the corner people as well. It was all going on like a chess match in there.
Oh, I think the important thing when you have matches like this is to not denigrate the fighter on the losing side, because then you diminish the victory that was just had. And I think that this is the best record on, or best win on Charlo's resume, bar none. Period. Castano is an excellent fighter. I think he beat Lara. I think that draw was kind of ridiculous, personally.
Yeah, and Charlo's done the donkey work, hasn't he, picking up the titles as well. I don't know whether I'm the only person who kind of leans the weight on the people when it comes to undisputed unifications. You've got one guy, Castano, who's bringing the WBO title to the party, which is fair enough. But you've got Charlo, who's bringing the WBC, which he won against Harrison. He's bringing the WBA and IBF, which he won against Rosario, who'd won them off Williams. So that kind of collection of belts from Charlo leans towards him being the stronger fighter. What I'm saying about that is, like, when you got Jermaine Taylor, for example, against Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins was the undisputed middleweight champion because he had all the belts, and then he fought Taylor, and Taylor was also the undisputed middleweight champion, but Taylor had beaten one man to win those titles, where Hopkins had gone and beaten 4 different people to collect his titles. So I think a greater weight is on the collector, which was Charlo in this case. I might be saying a bit daft with this, but I look at them historically a little bit different from the person who beats the man, the person who collects the belts in this situation.
I guess the question for me really coming out of this, Andy, I mean, Castano is going to have a fair bit of options, kind of, because there's a lot of people kind of at the second tier there. But where does Charlo go from here? I mean, he's an interesting A side, but I almost think he struggles to find a dance partner at this time, and he's almost waiting for people to come up from 147.
I can't remember if it was him calling it Golovkin, I don't think so, or Canelo. I forget which one it was.
I think it was the other one.
Was it the other one? I think he was also mentioning post-fight that he was talking about moving up to 160 to try and unify up there, for example. I really don't know. I mean, look, he was in fantastic shape there last night, and Steve quite rightly says it's not so much his chin. I just think it's it's definitely the gas tank. Considering how he started there last night, you kind of felt like, he could gas out, because Castano usually kind of picks up pace, but it was really the counter left took it. He kind of done him the business last night. It will be really up to what happens really with the belts. Does he want to fight a Tim Zhu? Does he want to fight Fundora? I mean, I would love to see the Fundora fight just to see how it plays out, because that guy just, we keep saying it, an absolute mutant of a boy, and you just want to see how far he can go. Whether it's against a Charlo or not, who knows? But I would hate to see Charlo having put in all that work now over the past few years, collecting all the belts, and then having to dump them because he wants to go up to 160 for another fight against who at this point? I mean, Golovkin seems to be, the way Eddie's talking, at least he thinks maybe the Golovkin Canelo fight's probably the best move rather than the rematch with Bivol straight away. Other than that, mate, I don't think, I can't even think of any names outside of Golovkin up at 160. I mean, Andrade's no bringing anything apart from a belt, which I think he's maybe vacating. We also got Eubanks calling out fucking Kell Brook, I believe. He's retired, so I don't know what the point of that is. So really, I don't think there's really, as you say, we mentioned dance partners. I don't think there is one specific one for him up at 160, which is very, very thinning out a wee bit. So I think he stays at 154. You know, look, he's created a legacy for himself. He is the undisputed champion, but go defend the title now. You know, give the other boys a chance to try and take it off you, like Tim Zhu. You know, Fundora has been mentioned, who's probably the two guys that kind of spring to mind. But again, it might just become down to the fact that maybe the weight's just getting too hard for him. Maybe he wants to go to 160. Whether he can get an automatic shot at a belt, which route does he go down, I'm not too sure. But in terms of dance partners, there just isn't one I can think of, sorry, just at this point, apart from guys at maybe 154.
You know, it's Steve, the fight for me that still stands out, and I believe Terence Crawford wins the fight, but you know, you might not. It's definitely a toss-up fight, but I want Terence Crawford to beat Errol Spence, because then you have there's no way that you're going to see Errol Spence against Jermell Charlo, right? So that fight is really interesting, and Crawford has said he's interested in it, and it would be nice to see. Is 147 his ceiling? Is 154 his ceiling? Guys like you have been ripping on Crawford for years for his level of opposition, but this is the kind of chasing greatness thing that we definitely like to see in the next 12 months, right?
Yeah, I agree. Then the winner of Spence Crawford would be a natural opponent for him to move up and fight him. But as you say there, Spence, being a stablemate, is unlikely to do that. So if Crawford beats Spence legitimately, then absolutely get him up there to fight the likes of Charlo. If not, I can see Charlo moving on up to try and chase somebody, although who there is at 160, I'm not really too sure. And at 154, now that he's the king of the castle, the only way is down. He's got all these people, as I mentioned, nipping at his heels, the likes of Fundoras and Tim Hughes. And even though they're not on his level, he's got to consistently motivate himself to fight these young guys. And is he going to have the motivation to do that, knowing that he is the king and he's the big paymaster? And you know, these up-and-comers, they're going to be hungry, aren't they, to take his title? And is he going to want that now? I don't think he will. He'll want the big payday. So he might even skip right on up, like his brother, and try to look for opportunities at 168. The Canelo sweepstakes is closed down now, thankfully. So there's more chance of them fighting each other. But at the moment, maybe defend against somebody. Maybe Lara. He holds one of the WBA fringe titles, doesn't he? So he could maybe fight Charlo in the meantime, or more than likely it'll be Tim Hsu. But I imagine they'll push the likes of Hsu or Fundora forward, and Charlo will say no thanks, and they'll end up splitting up the belts pretty quickly. The IBF don't mess about. I can see Charlo dropping that title, or having been forced to drop that title very soon. And the likes of Hsu, Fundora, whoever else is in the mix there, IBF, who else have we got here? Or is it the IBF, or maybe this WBO I'm thinking of? Anyway, one of the belts, I know that they're Sims Hughes quite high up in the ranking system. Kurbanov, he's another one. They might end up, Charlo might end up having to defend against them, and he might not fancy it, so he might end up slinging the belt, and then they'll all be broken up again. But at least we know where he stands, given the fact he's been undisputed.
I'm vaguely curious if Danny Garcia is ranked by any of those bodies. I feel like that's a fight they might shove upon us.
Yeah, quite possibly. I don't see Danny Garcia here. I'm just looking up and down the rankings. Like I said, you got Hsu quite high up. That is the WBO, as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure how often these are ranked. These are updated. Sorry, Bakram Murtazaliev, 20-0. He's the IBF. They might fancy that for Charlo in Texas. Bit of a homecoming affair. Tony Harrison going over all ground. They could sell it on the fact that it's a rubber match and Harrison's right up there. Hsu again flying in at the WBC in second place. Charles Conwell, can't see them fancying that. Erickson Lubin's name was mentioned, not after he lost to Fundora. I don't even see Fundora in the rankings here. I don't know where he is. Israel Majumov, 8-0, WBA. They're not going to want to entertain that. It'd be Harrison, Murtazaliev, Hsu, somebody like that, I think, if Charlo wants to keep the belt.
Danny Garcia, I was checking the rankings earlier on. He's still ranked at 147 by most of the stuff that I've seen, so maybe he still is with some of the other ones you're looking at, mate.
I'm optimistic that we won't see him in a meaningful fight unless he earns it. You know, guys like that keep walking into fights that matter. It gets ridiculous after a while, doesn't it?
You talking about Garcia?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who was his last fight? Sean? No, it wasn't Sean Porter, was it?
Thurman, maybe? Or
Thurman?
No,
Spence? No, it was Spence.
He's fought after Spence, hasn't he? Has he?
Has he?
Can't remember. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe it was Spence. Let me see.
Yeah.
Danny Garcia.
Spence,
yeah.
Was it Spence written for him? How long ago was that then, mate? 18 months ago?
18 months ago, December 2020.
Christ, there you go. Because obviously Spence had the eye injury after, because he went to fight Pacquiao after that, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was Spence. It was Spence. Yeah.
See Tim Zoo's. I see an article just come out there. Tim Zoo's actually calling for a fight. So yeah, I think we just need to see him testing those, and that would be the ideal fight actually. Sink or swim time.
Tim Sue was there last night, Andy, in the commentary
was,
box. He had like some kind of wrapping on his fingers. I don't know whether that's anything serious or not, but I was thinking about Sue. I think he's too green at the moment. I think he would give Charlo a good go, but look at Gosha and the trouble he gave Sue early on. I know for only 3 or 4 rounds, but you're taking Gosha, Charlo, a lot more experience, punches harder, same skill set as Gosha, but a couple, 2 or 3 levels above Sue at this point, at least a couple.
He needs more seasoning.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course, he needs resistance as well. Actually,
yeah,
that's what he also needs. But obviously, I mean, the Japanese.
I think Castano against Zoo would be
ideal fight, absolute ideal fight, mate. But I was just saying, I just found something here, Steve, about you mentioned about his hands. Apparently, he's had surgery on both hands in the last few months, according to this comment I've just seen here.
Right, that's not good for a puncher, is it?
No, so
yeah, he had some kind of sellotape wrapping on last night. Yeah,
so interesting to see him back in the ring as well, because he remember who was the Japanese guy that he fought and he punched the other living life out of the guy.
Inoue? Was it Takashi Inoue?
No, was it? I think it was, mate. And he pummeled him with everything that he had in his arsenal, and he just wouldn't budge. He wouldn't go down. He wouldn't get counted out. He wouldn't get knocked out. It was just, and even Zeus said that he said, my hands are killing me. So maybe he's done it off that fight, possibly.
Yeah. Fundora's the one, Matty. I don't think anyone's going to fancy him. He's going to have to push his way in through the ranking system after what he did to Lubin. He's going to be a tough fight for anybody because he's just relentless. You can barely stop him coming.
Yeah, I actually feel like he'd stop Castano with an uppercut. I'm just kind of visualizing that fight in my head, and I don't think.
Imagine the size between the two of them.
Yeah, I think Castano's like 5'7". I mean, there's almost a foot of difference between them.
Yeah. Castano fought Errol Spence, didn't he, as an amateur, I think?
I think Charlo's even taller than Castano as well, isn't he?
No. Oh, Charlo's taller than Castano?
Aye, last night.
Oh yeah, Charlo's almost 5'11". He's much taller.
Okay. What's that? Fundora 6'7"?
6'6", 6'7", depending on who you read.
Yeah.
I want to see him standing face to face with Tyson Fury one day, just to see the side difference. You know, in terms of height, obviously. Just to see
you never know with the sizes on BoxRec, though, do you? Because
exactly.
I remember Frampton saying once, he said, they've got my reach listed as such and such on BoxRec. He goes, no one's ever come and measured me.
God, for people who don't watch boxing, that would look like a PSA for world hunger. This man is almost as large as me, and yet he weighs 140 pounds less.
I really wish we could fast forward his career just to see where he's going to end up. You know, if he goes up through the weights, it's going to be incredible to watch this guy this mutant just.
He might just hold his weight, man. He might be one of them guys who just ends up at middleweight or something.
He's 24. He's 24, isn't he? So he's not really kind of like fully grown yet, has he?
Well, a couple of fighters who fought at welterweight that I just think are worth mentioning. Andrew Fonfara fought at welterweight at one point in his time in his career.
Usually, I believe, fought at welterweight as well. Did they not get Sean Porter back in the?
Yeah.
I'm talking about it at professional. Guillermo Jones fought at 147 pounds.
That's
yeah.
Right.
Some people grow into their frame like that, and they just kind of move up. And
the James Tony's excuse then?
He just got fatter.
Yeah.
You know, he's the most skilled fat guy on the planet. Like, well, in his time and age, like I don't think he can hardly walk anymore. He can probably talk, that's for sure. But
there was a middleweight and Matty back in the day from the 90s called Gil Martinez. I think he was a middleweight and he just couldn't be bothered to train. He got fatter and fatter and fatter and ended up at heavyweight. And he had a few decent wins over fringe contenders as well.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, I mean, it's you got to, if you got some skill, it's still 220, 30 pound a man fucking striking you. It still counts. So, speaking of big men striking you, Jaron Ennis absolutely destroying Castillo Clayton, second round, overhand right to the temple somewhere. I thought it was behind the ear a little bit, but fuck me. And he threw. Andy, he threw over 50 jabs in the first round. This kid, man, he's a different kind of fighter. I have a hard time describing him almost.
Different beast, mate. As it says, one thing I want to throw in there, I don't know if anybody was for the UK was watching the Boots fight on YouTube, but plenty of people in the live chat was saying that they believe that that Clayton dived. I don't think he did. He kind of leaned into that shot, didn't he? Kind of like ducked down, leaned forward.
I heard a few people saying that, Andy, but it clearly caught him right
Yeah.
behind the ear, man. It was an equilibrium shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
He looked like Vic Darcinian after Donaire fucking whacked him with that left hand, man. That was he was just discombobulated and fucked up.
Yeah, it was just in a bad way. Bad way. I mean, I don't know what else we can say about the fight. You says jabs, piston like rapid switch hits. I think he'll be one of those guys where as the fights kind of go on and that he's going to stay southpaw. I think some of the jabs to the body were just pretty heavy. And you see the downward right hand, which is probably, and obviously he's got a great left hook when he wants to employ it or whenever he's fighting orthodox. But it's again, Clayton, another one of those guys, ranked decent fighter. I thought he was biting on a lot of the feints that Ennis was giving him a wee bit. Actually, I thought he was a wee bit kind of psychologically maybe just not up for it really, because he kind of knew it was coming at him. And again, I mentioned it last week. Buatsi still to go past 6 rounds. So again, we just need to see him tested. We just need to see there's some resistance. And I know we mentioned Thurman in the past, who had a good performance against Barrios, for example. But Matty, I know you're a big Thurman fan. Would you actually see Thurman taking that fight? Honestly.
Oh, they'd have to pay him a lot of money.
I know, and as I said this last week as well, Ennis would need to take the short end of the wedge. He needs to back himself at some point with one of these big fights to try and break through. Because I didn't want him hanging about. What is he, like 35 fights now as a pro? He's 24 years old.
I think he just got to 30 fights. I think he's yeah.
And and I'm like saying to myself, I don't want him hanging about for too long, another couple of years. Whereas Spence, Crawford, and that like of them, are either gone, retired, or no want to fight, or moved up in weight. So I just want to see him get an opportunity. He's new mandatory challenger, I imagine, for Spence. But then, when's the mandatory going to get called for that sanctioned body belt? And then you can imagine if the Crawford fight gets made, that's going to take precedence over other mandatories, for example. You just never know. But look, Boots is obviously he's still on the way up. Great fighter, obviously. Well, we think he's a great fighter anyway. He just needs to prove it against the top tier guys now. That's what. So he just needs that. Just needs that opponent now. You talk about dance partners for Charlo. We need to get one for Boots, and he says the Ortiz fight is just not going to happen at this point, unfortunately.
Steve, we've talked about it before. If we want a fight to really show who a meaningful contender is, man, Boots against Stanionis. You talk about something that should be a title fight, not a contender, number one contender fight. But fuck, sign me up. You talk about a battle of the jabs. That's pure entertainment.
Yeah, that's the first thing I was thinking of regarding the jabs. It's going to be a jab fest, and I think they'd both take it as well. They both seem like stand-up kind of guys who would take that opportunity to get the big shot at Spence or the vacant title, depending on what it is. I'm glad Ennis has now, I believe, finally got the issues sorted out and he's a member of the PBC full-time, so he can take those opportunities. But I think we might look back in future years and wonder how Jarrell Ennis ever made the weight, because he was just bigger, stronger, faster than Custio Clayton. The jab was so fast, powerful. Clayton really struggled to get inside and land anything meaningful at all. I didn't see the punch stats, but we knew Clayton had gone hell for leather with Sergei Lipinets, albeit at short notice. He came in at short notice of that one, but Ennis just destroyed Lipinets. And I heard about the dive talk Andy mentioned as well. We've got one for Bellew of the Week, but it's just nonsense. In fact, I'm not sure what the referee Ray Corona was looking for at the conclusion, because it was immediately clear to me. I thought that Clayton had been rewired, shot behind the ear. He was all over the place, sprawling around on the canvas like a newborn foal. He was just trying to discover how his legs worked. He got to his feet just about, to his credit. And after a final fall into the ropes, the referee got the memo. This guy isn't compos mentis. Clayton didn't know where he was. One of the guys in the chat mentioned there rightly, he looked embarrassed. That's why he was laughing. Not because he took a dive. He was like, I don't think he knew what to do. He's like, my legs aren't responding to my brain here. And I've said it before, say it again. Jarrell Ennis is the real deal for me. I'm willing to be proven wrong. I think he gives Crawford and Spence a hell of a fight right now. Not saying he beats either of them. I know Spence is a big dude as well. Crawford's a pretty big guy too. But he's just waiting to be crowned for me, Ennis. I know others think differently, and that's absolutely fine, but I'm looking forward to seeing him now. 28-0, never been past 6 rounds. There might be flaws. He leaves his head a little bit static, some people say. He hasn't gone the distance anywhere near. He was talking about, no, you don't get paid for overtime, but that will come back to bite you whenever you get into a decent fight against someone who's going 10, 12 hard rounds. But so far, we can't find anyone who lasts the distance, even reasonably durable guys. You like your Lipinetsis, your Claytons, your Thomas Delorme's, who went the 12-round distance, and I think he only lost 115, 113, and one of the cars to Stanionis. Maybe gives you, again, a Lipinets Clayton style indication of how Ennis against Stanionis might turn out, but that could just be triangular theory. I'm an Ennis fan, though, Matty.
It's hard not to be. Someone who's not a fan, and Steve, I have a hunch. I have a hunch this might be Isaac Lowe, but going under the pseudonym of Junie Rivera, who says, "Why you still people name the boxing whatever be created?" Thumbs down multiple times. They want to be like that boxing voice. Thumbs down. Side laugh emoticons.
What's he talking about?
I don't fucking know.
I don't know, man. It sounds like he's been on the crack pipe or something.
Clearly.
He's talking about this podcast. Matty, when was this first podcast? You hosted this very first podcast. What year did it take place?
2012, I think.
2011.
There you go.
That's over 10 years.
Well, there you go.
Yes, you just found us.
There you go. We need to talk to our marketing department, clearly, Steve.
I think they've all gone, haven't they?
Fucking that's the problem with this lack of labor. This fucking wages are just going too high for us.
I think we are the marketing department who's left here.
Well, we're definitely fucked. I would like to thank those people that do appreciate us, like those in the chat, such as Des, Jim McDonald, Boxing, M. Lithgow, Yimmy Yappy, what's that? Welsh, Mears, Tommy McSee, Michael Thompson, Sad Ken, Tosh Tataglu, Junior Malone, God, that fucks with me. Jack Dio, Craig Kongzak, Nathan Ford, Ryan Omerad, Adam Hughes, Johnny Nelson, Chris Butler, Iron Fisted Champion, Alan Orenbaugh, Chase Athletics, Big A, Kent's Missing Scarf, Boom, Marty Smith, and others in there. Let's see here. F Google, I like that name. Take Ames in there, our homie. Let's see, Grime P. Yeah, so I appreciate all of you guys being in there in the chat, keeping it lively out there.
I'll say one thing quickly, Matty, if you don't mind. Andy,
sure.
Whenever the shit got hot out there, the boxing voice, what did they do? They squealed. Wellings never squealed. Took it like a man. Did the crime, did the time. Where the boxing voice,
fucking grass. Kens who he is, World Wire. And I'm doing a drug deal and got his mate sent in. Let's just have it right. Nestor Gibbs, check it out online. You know you're a grass.
There's levels to this podcasting game.
Yeah. Levels to grassing as well.
Jesus Christ. I think that I think we'll get hit by an EMP and see Western civilization destroyed. That's the only way this podcast is ending. Otherwise, you're stuck with us, you bastards. See here, and Steve, further down that card, I didn't get a chance to take many notes on this because I had already watched quite a lot of DAZN and French boxing and stuff earlier in the day. But the fight between Gonzalez and Rivera seemed reasonably competitive, at least for the first half. Nice little super bantamweight scrap there.
Yes, I can offer nothing of any value, Matty. I did have it on in the background, but like you, I actually had DAZN on at the same time. So I was watching, I think, Zepeda, Alvarado at the same time with the commentary on, and I had this one in the background with the commentary off, and Zepeda Alvarado, as we'll no doubt speak about, was taking more of my interest. So I really can't offer anything other than the colours of the shorts these two guys were wearing. I had no idea really what went down.
Yeah, it was good. I think Rivera offered a fair bit of resistance early, but Gonzalez, he seems like a decent fighter. I don't know how big his punch is, but they have some interesting fights to be made at 122 pounds at PVC. So you will definitely be seeing this kid in the future with that undefeated record continuing.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Gonzalez. I'm gonna have to be entirely honest here. 24 years of age, Mexican, Chacal, the Jackal. I might have heard his name come up. I'm looking down his record here furiously. He's fought every other fight in Mexico. This is his first travel into the States. I'm not familiar with him, Matty, I must admit.
Yeah, well, we will become familiar because that was a pretty darn good performance from the side of my eye. But jumping over to DAZN, let's kick it off actually with where you started there. I thought that this fight was going to be hard to beat for fight of the night, actually, with William Zepeda going 10 rounds with Rene Alvarado, both landing some bombs. I thought the fourth round was particularly good. I have all sorts of little notes here. which, Steve, you saw this fight, and those notes to me tell me that it was a competitive fight, that a couple of scorecards didn't necessarily reflect, with both guys making adjustments throughout, finding different ways to find holes as they showed themselves.
Yeah, I feel sorry for guys like Renny Alvarado. He scraps away. He comes from the streets of Nicaragua, I think it is, or Honduras. I think he's from Nicaragua, and he doesn't get a break on the scorecards. I've said it before. I think it was an Abel Ramos fighting against somebody. Might have been Robert Easter, and he absolutely fought his bollocks off for 10 rounds, and one of the judges gave every round to Easter. And you think to yourself, why'd you even bother? Renny Alvarado gone hell for leather. Could have wilted, could have tucked up and ran for the last few rounds, like a certain heavyweight we'll be talking about later, but he didn't. He carried on pitching to the end, and then he gets beaten by like 6-7 rounds on. Why do these guys even bother? But anyway, it's a bit of a tangent. It was a competitive, close fight, not as the judges' scorecards represented. Alvarado is tough, he's battle-hardened, he's had to do things the hard way, got his opportunity against Cancio and took it. He took Zepeda's power, he fought back well. Zepeda, they said, rehydrated up to 150 pounds. No wonder he punches so hard. Him and Ramirez, the rehydration kings. I don't know what was going on there, but I like the look of Zepeda. Good, solid win for him. Not sure how far he'll go, but this was all about Alvarado for me. Bollocks to them judges. I thought that it was a close fight, and he did himself proud. Long term, when he retires, who knows what his brain cells will be in what kind of condition, but it's probably better than lounging around on the streets of Nicaragua, so fair play to him. He's done well.
Damn right. And that's, I thought that 97-93 card was on the very edge of what you might say acceptable. I thought it was kind of a 6-4 swing at either direction, drawish, but you had to think the Zepeda was going to get the lean on some of those close rounds, of which there were many.
Exactly. That's the thing, isn't it? I suppose sometimes you have a round and you're like, oh, I'm not really quite sure who won that, but I'll maybe give it to one guy. And you only have to have a couple of them. All of a sudden, the scorecard becomes stretched in one direction. So maybe I'll give him a bit more leniency.
A little bit. Someone who appreciates us, Steve. Gerard, throwing in 5 pounds.
Gerard.
Says, Judy been on that good stuff. And when I say good stuff, I mean that stuff that makes you use more emotes than words. Bigs ups the lads. Thanks, Gerard. Appreciate you, my man. Junie, I still appreciate Junie, even though he has a really dumb outlook on things. But, not everybody was born with brains. And you did, you led up to it there, Steve. That was underneath Gilberto Ramirez, all 200 pounds of him in the ring.
Underneath him, would you?
204 pounds, thank you. 29 pounds he put on overnight.
That's crazy. Was it a 175 fight?
Aye,
yeah.
Size him.
He come in at 204 on the night.
204, aye. And apparently Boesel came in at 186, Mai. Was it 186?
Yeah, something of that nature. Yeah, it was quite the gap, like about 20 pounds. I just want to see
what was his weight. 174 3/4. So yeah, look, 28. Aye, just round it up. 29 pounds he put on overnight.
That's not healthy, man. That's crazy.
That's absolutely insanity. But, Boesel tried to stay in there and take those punches, but he just can't. It couldn't. Getting taken out in 4 rounds when he finally wilted over, and the referee figured, might as well just stay there, kid. It was a fight full of uppercuts, hooks, straight punches to the body for Ramirez. Getting tagged here and there, though. Andy, God, it's going to sound really weird, man. I think he's a good opponent for Dimitri Bivol, because I think his size makes it so that Bivol can't impose that distance like he did on Canelo.
Who knows?
He's saying it too, because he's basically 50 fights in with jack to show for it.
This is exactly it. I mean, look, apart from that last night, I remember watching him against Arthur Abraham, right? And he beat the shell of that man, right? Who just stood there like a statue, his hands up for 12 rounds, somehow just took the punishment, and that was it. I said it last week about Boesel. He is like mid-tier European level fighter. When I saw this fight actually pop up, and I was like, no chance is he fighting this trash. I just can't add any more words to it, mate. I mean, this is no good. It's just absolute garbage. Done his job, obviously. At the end of the day, if you've got an inferior opponent in front of you, you take care of business, and that's what he's done. That's all the positivity I can give him for last night. He has got to up it a bit now. He really has to go to up it. I mean, in terms of, he's in a division here. It's great fighters, big fighters, heavy hitters. I mean, he's supposedly that Boesel apparently was ranked 1 or 2 with the WBA last night. Looking outrageous. How's he even getting that? As I say, I think he got iced off. What's he call him? Krasniki. Then he went life and death in a rematch. So that Ramirez should be looking at the likes of your, I think, like maybe an Anthony Yard fight. I think you call him the Chinese boy, was it Meng? I think he's fighting Jean Pascal or something next week.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
that's not use either. That's just garbage. Who's Buatsi fighting, Steve? Even I'm not even going to mention. I'm not even mentioning Buatsi for the likes of Ramirez, for example. But maybe a Vlasov or who else have we got? Badu Jack, but he's a bit cruiserweight these days, isn't he? I don't know, mate. To be honest with you, just need to see him in with a top opponent now at this point. Again, another one probably needs a dance partner as well. Another one who hung about at 168 and then just vacated his belt, went up 175 and has fought trash. That used Nicky Gonzalez, washed. Mentioned that last week as well. Boesel, as I mentioned, barely European level fighter. Who else we got? Sully B. I think he was probably seen better days by that point. Tommy Karpense, garbage. Jesse Hart, decent enough fighter.
I went through his record the other day. There's not much. Porky on there. Porky Medina's decent fight. It's.
Unieski Gonzalez had been out the ring for about 2.5 years, hadn't he?
Yeah, and he'd been smashed up. I forget who he got knocked out off actually as well.
Was it Shabransky or somebody like that? I think I can't remember.
Got badly ruined anyway, and obviously
Pascal, he had a good fight with Pascal, didn't he,
I
Gonzalez? I agree on that.
Yeah, he's just he's one of those guys. It's just you wonder because of his level of opposition how good he is. There's just so very little to measure him on, based on what he has under his belt at this point in time.
Zurdo, I mean, they need to start calling Turdo, to be honest with you, mate. To be honest with you, because that's what he's fighting. Turds, actually garbage, man. Again, I'm not hating, but it's just we just need to see better for him. We really do. I mean, I'm just going to pull up the rankings here, right? So, where is he ranked? He's ranked quite high with the BA and the BO, right? So you're talking like Anthony Yard, Vlasov, Callum Smith, Callum Johnson, Joshua Boatsi, the French boy, and Leon Boone, right? So there are a couple of decent-ish fights there for him. WBA, right? You've got Boesel, which he knocked out there last night. Boatsi, Callum Smith, Andre Darrell. I don't know what he's when he last fought or what kind of fighter is these days. Craig Richards ranked number 7. Bolotniks is number 8. Gonzalez is number 9, who he's already beaten. There's not.
Is this for Ramirez, Andy?
Aye.
Yeah, he'll not fight any of them, will he? He's that high up now. He's only going to take Bivol. He's going to push for the Bivol fight, isn't he? Mandatory or whatever.
Well, the DAZN situation, I don't know if he's tied to the DAZN full time or Golden Boy for another matter to that. But considering his weight as well, do you even think about moving up to a cruiserweight possibly?
Not until he's had his shot, I don't think. He'll keep boiling down.
I don't know, mate. I mean, these belts are tied up for the foreseeable. I mean,
WBA might give him one of those stupid interim ones to keep him happy if Bivol's not entertaining him.
But this is piss because these belts didn't mean nothing. Bivol's an active champion. He just fought. He's tied contractually to a rematch to Canelo, so he might not be able, unless he gets permission to move on by a tune-up fight possibly next. That's maybe possible. Joe Smith's tied up with who's he fighting? Is it Beterbiev? That's at least another 18 months before we can think about talking about that fight. Because obviously we want to see the Beterbiev, the winner between Bivol and Beterbiev Smith next. Just need to wait and see. But he just needs to up it.
I think the thing is as well about Ramirez. I think I tease him as much as anyone else. This daft 44-0 record, he's fought no one, but he is a pretty good, solid fighter. He works hard. He can punch hard enough to the head, to the body. I don't really blame Golden Boy for taking this fight, given the benefits of the elimination process. It is an opportunity to fight Dimitri Bivol. But I also agree with Andy. Absolutely spot on, man. Dominic Boesel, he belongs nowhere near world level. He's barely European class. He's slow. Was it Sergio Mora picked up on it? The poor technique that he was throwing back. This is a world level guy, supposedly, fighting near world class. He soaked his punishment up until the referee stopped it mercifully. But these sanctioning bodies, it's on them. They're daft belts. That someone like Boesel is ranked this highly. He's shit, man. He belongs nowhere near a main event or a world title of any description.
I agree. But it is what it is, right? We keep dealing with it.
He's a victim of sanctioned body politics again, isn't he? He's just another one of those fighters.
He's like a Vinny or an Enrico Coling or a Sebastian Formella. They're there to just take a beating.
Pay his sanctioning fees, pay his dues over however long, to try and get current favour with WBA. I mean, I don't even think he fought for a BA title before. I think it was the IBO belt he went and picked up. Maybe
That's
one of
right.
those
They announced him as
belts.
IBO champion or something last night. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something weird. Check this out, Steve. Going back 5 fights on Zurdo's resume. Tommy Carpensi retired in the 4th round. Next fight, Alfonso Lopez, TKO in the 10th. Fight after that, Sullivan Pereira, stoppage in the 4th round. Fight after that, Unieski Gonzalez, stoppage in the 10th round. Last night, Dominic Boesel, stoppage in the 4th round. Guess what I'm going to bet on next time he's in the ring, Steve?
When he fights Bivol, 10th round knockout, innit, man?
Fucking A, do you know the odds on that?
Oh, that's
51 possibly.
Good spot, man. Good spot.
So, yeah, anyways, there's where my autistic brain went to. I want to thank Snoop Bob for throwing us a $1.49 super sticker in there. Thanks, Snoop Bob. We appreciate you. Steve, you also caught the fight on there with that Japanese fighter, and that was a weird end.
Yes, let me bring it up here so I can refresh my memory. So there's a couple of things of interest here on the undercard. So first of all, we had John Ramirez knocking out Jan Salvatierra, knocked him out of the ring. He climbed back in, but he was done. That was a really impressive knockout, actually. And then this other
the
one
ref
that you
didn't play
mentioned,
that right either. By the way, you get 20 seconds if you get knocked out of the ring. So the ref should have given him more time to recover.
All right, fair enough. Okay, I was only half watching that, so I only kind of saw what was going on. But yeah, this Akitsugi, they were talking about him. He's got some box rec photo, by the way. Go and have a look at it. He calls himself El Quete Japonesito. So he left Japan to go and try and make a name for himself in Hollywood. Boxing, by the way, not as an actor. He dropped out of school and he's been fighting ever since on the West Coast. And he's doing pretty well for himself. He's not a puncher, but he could clearly box a little bit. And he was out boxing this Jose Santos Gonzalez. Again, I'm trying to remember on the fly here, Matty. Did it end up a headbutt? Went to the cards, I think. Is that what happened? And a technical decision. He was winning every round anyway, but Gonzalez was trying to get out of there. But I like the look of Akitsuki. What did you think of him?
It seemed like there was he definitely could be a quality fighter. If you look at his record, he doesn't have much pop. That was a weird end. I don't know if you can call that a TKO necessarily, but there definitely seems to be some quality to him, and it's really interesting. He's another one of those Japanese fighters like that, the one Kameda brother, it might have been Tomoki, who decided to set up shop and train in Mexico, right? That's what I seem to be gathering. Those guys, they tend to want to go down there for hard sparring and to be vicious fighters. You know, those Japanese kids aren't afraid to go to the body. So let's see how he develops. At this point, it could be an interesting one up there. You got to admit, some of the lower weight fighters that they have over there in that are on the DAZN Golden Boy Matchroom stables, there's some quality fights to be made.
Put his punches together nicely. He's floating about top 50 of box rec. He's one to keep an eye on, actually. I think if he could continue improving, I'd like the look of him. The punching power is a little bit of a concern, but fighters like Malignaggi, the guys have showed that you can get pretty far without being able to punch too hard. But at a certain level, it is detrimental. But at Akitsuki, he's obviously someone who's not afraid to go out of his comfort zone, as you mentioned, and go over to America and put himself on the line. Oscar likes what he sees in him. So, yeah, good look to him. I like the look of him.
Yeah, and they seem to keep these fighters pretty active over there, at least. So we should be able to see him pretty soon in the future, which would be great. God, I think that was all on that card, wasn't that, Steve? I think we wrapped that one.
That's all I saw, yeah.
Well, let's go over to Triller. Did you see any of the Triller cards, Steve?
I just mentioned, sorry, Steve, before you start. I woke up this morning, kind of early doors, a wee bit hungover, just checked the results. I'm saying Sergey Kovalev's fight's results no up yet, and I've seen somebody post on Twitter. Can somebody ask Triller as to why the UK fans are still sitting up at 6:10 in the morning waiting for Sergey Kovalev's fight still to start? 6:10, and apparently so, and it went 10 rounds. Not a chance I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning waiting for that fight to happen. Triller, holy shite.
No, I saw the Holyfield knockout, as we all have. The Vargases all sort of merged into one. Vargai, as you aptly described last week. So I couldn't distinguish one from the other. I was only half watching. I was kind of boxinged out by this point. I'd seen everything else, Bakole, the Zone, obviously the Charlo fight and that. So I was only half watching this. Kubrat Pulev against Jerry Forrest. I watched that in the background for the full 10 rounds. Forrest is no mug, actually, considering that he fought Michael Hunter to a draw in his last fight. So the fact Pulev has beaten him and beaten him well means that he's still going to be hovering around contender status. And Kovalev against Pulev, I thought Kovalev looked okay. Maybe he'd been out for a while, so I can understand him looking a little bit gassed as it went on, but his jab was working nicely. He's clearly got the power. How much he has to offer at cruiserweight, I'm not sure long term, but he's got a good win. Didn't get the stoppage and get me the points in the prediction league, but Tervel Pulev, he can come again, unlike Jade. But as for Kovalev long term, I'm not sure, but hopefully they all got paid. Didn't realise, like Andy said there, that it was at 6 o'clock in the morning. You'd be able to get up for work and watch it. But yeah, interesting from Triller, these cards, aren't they? Interesting spectacles.
Oh man, did you didn't catch Kubrat Pulev then, did you?
Yeah, I like I said, I saw it, but he kind of
sorry, I
outworked...
leaned away for a second. I'm very
no,
sorry.
it's okay. He outworked Forrest, and I thought there was something going on with the gloves, wasn't there? Didn't Forrest have to use Tervel Pulev's gloves or something like that?
Yeah, it was really weird. I never caught the whole story on that. That fight, Steve. Let me just say that Jerry Forrest can take a punch like nobody's fucking business. My notes on this, I'll literally verbatim these. Second round, Forrest keeps leaning left and getting caught with Pulev's right. Forrest hurt Pulev with left and third. Pulev beat the shit out of Forrest rounds 4 through 7, with Forrest slightly more competitive in the 8th and 9th. That's all I could say. I have never seen anyone eat so many flush right hands off of the same fucking bait move with the jab in my goddamn life. He fell for that trick every fucking time.
Kubrat Pulev's not a bad fighter. We've seen him lose twice, to my knowledge, unless I'm forgetting one. Vlad and AJ, there's no shame in that, and he gave a good account of himself in both times. He's a good, busy fighter. He's on the sort of slide now, but against the Jerry Forrest of this world, you'd be expecting him to do that. Stephen Hill is confirming there what I thought it was. Something to do with Forrest's gloves weren't appropriate, and the Triller, the commission, whatever it was with Triller, was saying that he couldn't wear them, so he had to borrow Tervel Pulev's gloves to fight Tervel's brother Kubrat, and then he handed them back to Tervel so he could fight Kovalev afterwards. So, classic Triller. All that was missing was the triangular ring.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. I didn't know it was that deep. I had watched, at that point in time, I had been watching boxing for about 6 hours straight, and I was a little bit tired. I will thank the nice people at Triller, though. I was able to get a Triller pass for the Trillerverse fight for only $2.99 a month, Steve. $2.99 a month.
Even that's too much, I think, Matty.
I consider it
too much disposable income, Matty. I'll tell you that.
It's called not having kids, you fucker.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a move that
the cost of my entertainment is less than feeding your children for a week.
Depends how much you're paying out, though. That's the thing. Because kids are fucking extortionate.
I'm gonna say $2.99 a month. You could barely feed a child a day for $2.99.
I'm talking the cumulative. Like
I buy my pot noodle for that money, man.
My cable plus my Roku subscriptions probably adds up to and internet together adds up to about $200 a month.
Fucking hell.
And that's not counting when I buy pay-per-views. I literally had a $300 and some odd Comcast bill recently.
Oh dear, mate.
Yeah. That one sucked. But what are you gonna do there? And yes, you guys were right on Kovalev, just not on the stoppage there. And interestingly enough, Andy, I'll tell you, the markets actually agreed with my assessment. I saw Pulev open up at about a 2-1 underdog, and by fight time, they were paying about even money minus the vig. So it was the betting market did agree, but you guys had it, just not the stoppage. There's still some juice in those old legs, man.
Did we pick the stoppage last week? Yeah,
you did pick the stoppages. Yeah, I picked, but I picked Pulev because I'm an idiot. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I'll tell you what was interesting for me, and it's something just technically that Kovalev's one of the only people in boxing who I've ever seen do this, and it's actually his bread and butter. The more I look at him, especially as he's evolved to more boxing later in his career, it's that 2-1. He
Yeah.
doesn't throw the 1-2 all the time. He throws the 2-1, just that touch right hand, and then I think the jab's harder.
Aye. Was it? They don't know knockout. Who was it? Was it? What's his name?
Yard.
Silla. Was it? No, was it Silak? Remember
Ismail Salak.
Salak. Aye, I think he knocked him out with that same punch, that same combination. He also seems to kind of like change his feet stance when he's thrown that shot, or sorry, thrown that combination. It's weird actually, but he was having a lot of success with it last night. As Steve says that he did pretty well, I suppose, being out the ring, up in weight. Jab was okay. I thought at times, Pulev was more than holding his own from time to time. He was jabbing back, trying to get himself back into the fight. But I just thought Kovlev's experience probably told a wee bit more. Just a segue, actually, just on the Evan Holyfield knockout. I know you guys never saw the fight, so I watched it. Talk about hands down, man down. My God, he dropped his left hand, and that Jermaine McDonald's come over the top with a right hand square on the side of his face, possibly high up, running about the left temple. And he's just basically been stretched right out on his face, and his left arm's basically folded up underneath his body, and his gloves basically protruding out the other side, and of course protruding out towards his right side. And he's trying to get up. He tries to roll over on that same right side, and he can't do it because the glove is actually prohibiting him from rolling over. So he's then trying to pull his arm back out, which he can't do. Then he gets up and he starts complaining that the referee pulled the fight too early because he didn't count to 10, really. But no complaints there, to be honest with you. And as for Kovalev, I don't know, future-wise, he should have enough money now to be retiring. But if he wants to have another go at it, cruiserweight isn't what it was, shall we say, a few years back. It's not got the killers as much now. It's not got Dotiko's probably seen better days. I don't know if he's still the same fighter. Machunu got hosed, if I can recall properly, in America on that Don King card. So I think Kovalev potentially has a decent chance of picking up a belt. Maybe stays away from Bakole possibly, but I think the other titleists, I think Kovalev's got a decent chance possibly. But again, it might come down to the fact is his gas tank, how he's making the weight at £200. In fact, what did he weigh in for this fight? Actually, just out of curiosity, 196. So yeah, possibly he's no guy cutting weight as such. He's probably he's probably fighting at his walk around weight, to be honest with you. Maybe feeling comfortable, but I think he's got a decent chance. He just needs the right fight, shall we say? Because again, you just don't know if he does fight some of these bigger guys. If he does take a flush shot, does he go? And the body toughness has always been, we've always said it's always been kind of soft to the body. So is that going to be a factor as well? Fighting these big guys, if he takes a body shot, does he take a knee at some point? So we'll wait and see. But I think he could have a decent chance if he just gets the right fight. Maybe Makabu possibly, or one of those. I forget who the French guy, the WBA belt. Maybe fights him. Brevis is like, we're talking about him moving up to heavyweight, but it's like everything else. What do you go up to heavy? What has he got to take the heavyweight with him? Nothing. He hasn't got a TV deal. Latvia's not a big hotbed. He hasn't got a belt as such. So he's going to take cruiserweight. He's got
a little bit of name recognition. It's kind of probably like when Marco Huck moved up.
Yeah.
It reeks to the lack of options move.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think he was not meant to be fighting in Australia soon, actually, against the Aussie.
Yeah, that fight got fucking canned. The Aussie hurt his shoulder.
That
or
New
some
Zealander
shit.
guy also. Yeah, that's
right.
right.
So that's been binned. Right. So there's an opportunity there, and maybe fight Brevis. But again, I don't think Kovalev's ranked at cruiserweight yet, so we'll need to wait and see over the next month or so if he does. With that win there last night, does he get put into the top 10 somewhere? One of the bodies. We'll just need to wait and see.
Steve, did you see those two back-to-back comments there?
No, go on.
Joe Burns asked, was Carl Froch there? And then got Jack Dio's response up there. He says, see him all the time speeding around industrial state. We orange alloys.
Bad lads in the chat, the depth of humanity.
You gotta love them. I love our people. Oh man, I kind of wish Rob was here before he moved on, because I'm kind of curious if you saw the rap battle between Cypress Hill and Onyx. I was too busy, watching some shit, all the other stuff that was going on to be able to catch the Evan Holyfield in the rap battle. I kind of feel like I missed out, but $299 for two fights. I call that value. What I got out of my ESPN Plus subscription yesterday was, last week I got to say I looked like an ass. I said Bakole and Yoka, that's about levels. Yoka fairly early. Well, Steve, I forgot to add in the part of the equation where he's a Frenchman, showing all the heart of a Frenchman in those final 5 rounds with Bakole very little left, unwilling to try to take the fight after being dropped 2 times, finishing on his feet, almost getting the fucking victory on the cards.
Let it rip, Steve. Let it rip.
What the fuck was that shit, Steve? Those last 5 rounds? My God.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. Whenever I first saw Martin Bakole coming out as a fat as a pig Michelin man, I was a little bit concerned. But even though his body was soft, his hands were sharp, man, he was beating Tony Yoka to the punch. He looked skillful. He looked strong. He looked fast. He dropped Yoka a couple of times.
You thought
as
he
said
looked
there.
fast? I thought he was a slow guy that was somehow getting around this guy's arm. I thought he looked slow as fuck.
Bakole's hands were moving nicely. I thought the jab, the left hand, he was hurting Yoka on numerous occasions, busted his nose up, raking the body, could hardly miss with the left hook. Now, I'm going to give Yoka his props. He took his licks. He lasted the distance. I thought it was a cert after about rounds 4 or 5 that Virgil Hunter was going to pull him out. How these judges came up with those scorecards is absolutely beyond me.
In true French fashion, Steve, he thought, if I can just find a way to limp to the finish line, someone else will get the victory for me.
I mean, I don't want to be too melodramatic, but it makes you wonder why you watch boxing sometimes. If those roles were reversed and Yoka had put on that performance that Bakole did, he'd have won 188 across the board and no one would have complained. Yoka ran for his life for those last few rounds, and there's nothing subjective about those scores, especially the draw. That is just pure corrupt bias. You're supposed to watch what happens in the ring, judge off scoring punches, as well as other factors, not on who's who. That is absolute bollocks, that. I rated Yoka before this fight coming in. Wrongly, it turns out. Even if they'd have robbed Bakole blind there last night, it wouldn't have mattered to Yoka's career because he's as good as finished at any decent level. You cannot fix those flaws that he's got. He needs to get back on the PEDs ASAP because he clearly can't fight without them. And as for Bakole, because this is his night, fair play to Billy Nelson for believing in him. He fought angry there, Bakole, last night. He fought like he had a point to prove. It wasn't the lethargic performance that he put in against Michael Hunter. He showed bravery. He showed bravado. He revelled in the spotlight. He was enjoying himself at the end there, waving the arms, goading Yoka in. He didn't shrink under pressure. He was absolutely superb. And only those fuckers tried to rob him there last night. It was an absolute disgrace.
I didn't even know what the scores were until you guys told me. I just saw him raise Bakole's hand when I looked over, and I'm like, oh, good. I didn't even think twice about it. Andy, your thoughts?
My thoughts, mate, are just exactly the same as Steve. Absolutely outrageous. Every single one of those French judges are an absolute disgrace. To have that anywhere near close is an absolute outrage. And anybody who was watching it could see what they were watching. I watched that fight last night when I got in drunk, and I could tell what I was watching. That Bakole absolutely bossed that fight for 10 rounds. And if you look at Yoka was basically on the periphery of that ring the whole night, suckling the rune a bit. Didn't want to engage. If he did, he was forced to engage because Bakole was putting it on him. And I don't know if it was confirmed or not, but I think he got his nose broken in that fight there last night. Blood was pissing down his nose. It looked like it was contorted as well. So to me, it looks like it's broken. Steve says Bakole was absolutely reveling in that there last night. Maybe that was kind of going against me a wee bit by hamming it up, and the judge is like, oh, fuck him right over right now. We'll try our best anyway. And think about it. If it wasn't for those 2 knockdowns, Yoka would have got a split decision victory there last night off those fucking scorecards, right? And I've mentioned it before about Tony Yoka's bad man attitude, shall we say. I needed to see that energy there last night, and he didn't have it. Remember when was it Peter Millis, I think he was, he maybe fought 2 fights back, touched Yoka with a left to the head, and he fucking felt it. Everything that Bakole hit him with last night, he felt it right down to his boots. Absolutely fucking pish. And I'm going to big up Steve here again, actually, because he came out with a great comment, which I just happened to find by pure chance last September on the podcast, 12th of September to be exact. Steve Wellens called Tony Yoka needs to be renamed Tony Mediocre, because that's exactly what he is, right? Bakole beat the prime out of him there last night. He will never be the same fighter again, as far as I'm concerned, and that's a total rebuild. It doesn't take a fucking expert to know what fucking route he's been on for the last 2 and a bit years after that drugs ban. Well, it was actually, he missed 4 drugs tests actually, so there's something to be had there. But he's been fighting again like that Dominic Boesel at mid-tier European level opponents. And he's met a guy, you see the fucking size difference in the two of them there last night as well. Bakole was massive compared to Yoka. As I say, he's had his way for too long. He's been sticking the tongue out at opponents when he downs them. Did it as an amateur, but I can remember him getting dropped and iced as an amateur as well back in I think it was Worlds. I think it was. I've kind of always felt this day was coming, and the only thing with the really top part off there last night was Bakole getting the stoppage, because it looked like, well, it almost looked like he needed the stoppage actually off those fucking scorecards. So fair play to Billy, as Steve says. Billy's backed him all the way. You know, he's put him up in his house. You know, managed to get his family across with the help of the good guys over in Dubai. But in the end, I'm pleased for him, because he could have easily chucked it. You know, after that debacle a few years back. But he's come through. No doubt he'll be wanting a big fight. You know, he's took out one of the supposed up and comers. But for Yoka, for me at least, I think personally, he remains at European level for the good of his career and for the good of his health, because he is on the hiding to nothing if he starts step up in class. And at the end of the day, not many people listening to this podcast or big boxing fans would say that Martin Bakole is in any way, shape or form a world-class fighter, right? And look what he did to fucking Tony Yoka, or Tony Mediocre there last night. So I think we can just put a line through that career. Maybe I'm writing him off too soon. Maybe he'll come again like Jade can't. But no, after last night, I just do not see how he can possibly hang with any of the top guys within the top 5, top 10 in that division. Sorry.
The big A there, Matty, as well. Shout out. He says Billy Nelson promised he'd give Martin his phone back if he won.
I just can't get over you still saying Bakole looked fast. He looked so slow to me. Those looping hooks, man. Fucking Stevie Wonder could have saw him coming.
I liked his jab. I thought his jab was rapid fire, Matty.
There were some times that he was sharp with the jab, but his shots around the gloves were just, God, how Yoka couldn't get out of the way of those. I have no clue. But that said, Steve, I want you to try this fight on for size for me. When I was watching it yesterday, this is what I thought. And before I say that, it was also yesterday when I learned that Martin Bakole is Ilunga Makabu's brother. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, we did know that.
Half brother, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, I did not know that. But check this fight out. We're gonna go with the opponent for him being Joe Joyce. That's what I like.
Bakole against Joyce?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Yoka had won last night, I think Joyce against Yoka, replay of the 2016 Olympic final, would have been a good one. But you have to think, as pros now, given that performance last night, Joyce, too big, too strong for Yoka, and him against Bakole, I'd love to see that, actually. With Bakole's rapid-fire combinations, Matty, that I'm seeing that you're not seeing flying in, against Joyce's rapid-fire combinations in return. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see that fight. Get Bakole a big fight now.
Well, I think that fight's going to be Joyce's jab against those wide-winging shots, and I think it's going to be a matter if Joyce can pick him up. And if you look at the way that he did Daniel Dubois, I definitely favor Joyce in that fight. What's your thoughts, Andy?
Joyce Bakole, I favour Joyce, mate. I just think he's once he gets, the old cliche, once he gets started, mate, he's hard to beat. Bakole's going to have to put him on his arse and keep him there, and I just don't see that happening. What I was going to chime in with, though, actually, was I just pulled up the rankings. So Bakole's ranked 9th for the WBA and 15 with the IBF, but Tony Yoka's ranked 5th with the same body, IBF. So
Joyce is looking upwards, isn't he, Andy, at the moment?
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if he took on the likes of a Bakole when he's in a pole position to just hang around and wait for a shot at somebody.
Well, he's got the Parker fight already announced or ready to go, isn't he? So
exactly. Yeah, you've got to get past that first.
I missed that news. When were they?
It got announced after Fury against White. Just before that.
July. Is it July? I think.
I think so. Aye.
Yeah. Oh man, I totally missed that. That's a quality scrap.
Aye, Frank had an interview in between fights at the Fury fight to announce it. Yeah, so
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying a lot of attention during that amazing undercard that they provided.
Yeah, true, mate.
I think Joyce beats Parker, Andy.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I think so as well, mate. I think it's a decent enough fight, actually, considering the heavyweight landscape as it is. But I think that's a decent enough scrap. I think Joyce, again, Parker. decent
he's
boxer,
not
but he's
fast,
maybe the
but
back foot. He's no fast, mate. But I tell you
that
what,
jab,
his jab
is so mean. It's
jab,
fuck Dubois.
stamina.
It's hard to beat Joyce, man. I've said it all along. He's like he's a juggernaut. That's what he calls himself. He just keeps coming forward. He's going to be a really hard guy to deter Joyce,
Yeah.
I think.
That fucking hat thing he walked into the ring.
You need to be able to hurt him. You need to be able to hurt him, by the way. And I just don't think of anybody I've seen it, and the pros at least hurt him. Parker's no really renowned as a hitter, really. Decent enough boxer. I'm going to say, I want to actually go out, go and say Joyce maybe stops him late. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, actually, to be honest with you.
He's a guy that's going to accumulate a lot of punches on you. His stoppage, again, I lean back to the Dubois fight, but that's going to be very common with him. It's just absolute mercy after he bludgeons you, and breaks your fucking face.
Exactly breaks your face. That's Daniel Dubois, but he'll just punch holes in you. He'll just punch your arms, get you to drop them down, starts hitting the head. You say that jab is it's one of the great heavyweight jabs at this point. So yeah, look, I'm going to say Joyce at this point. Come back to me in regards to an outcome actually on how it happens, but I'm probably going to say Joyce maybe stops him late. Looking forward to that one, I really am.
Even with Tyson Fury potentially stepping away, there's still some good fights at heavyweight. It might not be incredible talents necessarily all the time, but I think we still got a lot of fun matches on the horizon. But
heavyweight,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I was checking the opponent for Kovalev, for example. I mean, I noticed Gazev was ranked somewhere top 5 at heavyweight still. He's only had 2 fights. How the fuck's that possible? But anyways, Hugh Fury's still highly ranked as well. Robert Helenius is still kicking about. I tell you what, I think Helenius would be a decent enough comeback opponent for Yoka, actually, to be honest with you. If he's got any aspirations to get back in the mix, then you've got to be beating guys like Robert Helenius, maybe even get Michael Hunter across, because he's highly ranked as well. Dubois, after he beat who's he fighting again? He's got a fight arranged against some.
I thought Michael Hunter had a fight announced too, and when I saw it, I thought he was going to get his ass kicked. Can't remember.
Otto Wallen needs a fight. Otto Wallen's
no, Otto Wallen is fighting in about 10-12 days time against the ageless Rydell Booker.
Oh God. I remember him fighting James Toney in about 2005. Why is he still on the scene for?
He left and he came back a few years ago, and he fought Pulev a few fights ago, actually.
Oh God.
I'm not saying this guy is anything going to be challenged for world titles, for example. But Steve, you maybe know this guy, Asylum Makhmudov, the Russian-based Canada, big, massive puncher, right? No, really. I don't think he's even went past. I think he's went past 7 rounds or 8 rounds, whatever it is. If you want to end Yoka's career, I think that's the fight you make. That one, Makhmudov against Yoka, I think that would be an interesting one.
It's funny with guys like Yoka, revisionism. Beforehand, I would have said Yoka, Helenius would be a nice big step up for him. But now after watching him last night, you think Helenius, he's big, strong, can clearly punch for all of his limitations. Now I wouldn't fancy Yoka against him either. It's funny how your view changes on things.
My view's never changed on Yoka though. I think I've been pretty consistent anyway. Well,
you have, yeah.
I just okay, gold medalist is a different sport, isn't it? But it just goes back to the drug situation, and then how we come back after the 2 years out. Opponents were trash as such, and then as I say, seeing him getting touched up by Peter Millison, looking like he's hurt. It just didn't bode well for me whatsoever. As I say, he's always had that kind of attitude about him that I'm the fucking badass, I can do this, I can do that. But he got his fucking ass handed to him last night.
At least one thing I'll say about Yoka is, Andy, at least we found out pretty quickly. He didn't get to 30-0. He moved pretty rapidly, didn't he? Which might have been his downfall in the end. But not like the likes of Hrgovic. I know he obviously had to pull out of his last fight for reasons because of his old man and that. But his career was just completely stalled. At least Yoka's got to move on.
Yeah, and this other thing as well, Yoka's been active as such, especially even during the pandemic. He was getting fights. I think he fought Hammer and Duhaupas during the pandemic. This is the Millis fight rings in my memory quite clearly because of how he got touched up, as I says, and I tweeted it out again. I says, look, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I just don't fancy this guy as being elite. And it sounds weird because the guy's Olympic gold medalist. And it sounds weird to say that, but in the pros, man, you can certainly see it. But it's just to me at least, it's just no there.
Talking of De Hapas as well, just briefly, Matty, he's fighting next week out in Germany against a southpaw called Jan Kosabutski. He's Kazakh. He's quite small, good mover, 17-0 with 16 knockouts. He knocked out Joey DeVecco a few fights ago in 2 rounds. He also knocked out Kamil Sokolowski on one of Alcesta's shows, so I had a chance to watch him in action. He's a good mover. He's not the biggest. He's a southpaw. He's slick. He can clearly bang. So if he can get rid of De Hapas as impressively as Yoka can, maybe not, because that was a first-round knockout, he could be one to watch on the European scene at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's heavyweight boxing, and Yoka has enough training that it's, whatever, right? Those things happen. But that would be, it is a statement to see it, because it's continuing, right? Because there seems to be a theme there. It doesn't seem to be a one-off like with our old buddy French Tony. Chase Athletics throwing the wild card in there. I saw this too. The Triller announced that Jarrell Miller, the pharmacist, as Chase Athletics says, coming back soon. And
that says it all. That says it all. Hey, you got trash like that coming back, right?
Well,
we're on a trash platform. Nobody else will touch him.
Well, and he's had his ban. He's had his ban, and I'll tell you what the interesting thing is about him, guys.
Should be banned for life for the shit.
Well, hold on. But he's not. So we deal with reality. Everything else aside, during this ban, and feel free to jump in whatever way you want on this, he's still been sparring with the top guys. The level of work he's been getting has been tremendous. So I don't think we can exactly count Jarrell Miller out, especially if some belts get vacated and shit like that, because the guy's a fucking tank, and he's got odd athleticism for a guy that's that big. And I know you'll say,
odd athleticism.
Uncanny, one might say.
I know what you say, but I know he was sparring with Fury, I think, before the White fight, I believe, because I think there's some outrage because he was in here ex-drugs cheap, but he has got decent skills, whatever. But come on, man, he's what are we expecting for this guy? I mean, he fought in fucking Bogdan Dingaling Dingnu, Thomas Wash Adamek for fucking Poland, to half-pass, another one. Went 12 rounds with him. Whack. It's just Washington as well, I think it was. Yeah. Who's he fighting? More at the point.
I don't think they announced an opponent yet. Just the fact that he's coming back.
As I say, it's trash, man. I mean, fucking everything he took, like fucking, what was it, Gorilla Cum and fucking steroids, testosterone, fucking everything. He went balls deep in everything, man. And yet here he is. Hasn't he fought since 2018? So he's been in the ring for 4 years. Fucking hell. And I don't care what type of training he's been doing or what type of sparring he's been getting. Sparring, fighting at the end of the day. Is he prepared to go 12 rounds? I don't know. We'll wait and see. But if it's a Triller event,
it's going to be a freak opponent.
Oh,
mate,
they're
going to be bringing Kurt Johnson out of retirement or something.
It'll be Rampage Jackson in for a fucking special rules fight or whatever it is, man. You know how
Freddie
it is
Flintoff.
with Triller, man. Flintoff or fucking. Who's the other one? Fucking. You call him? They got beat there on Wednesday night. Paul Gallen for Australia, the rugby player. Put him in there as well. Fucking Jesus Christ. Trash. Just like Triller. And you're paying for it as well. You're helping keep them afloat, mate. You're two, whatever it is, a month.
Dude, I was like, everything was finished, and I went on there because I knew that they were covering the fight, and I forget how this whole thing works. And so I clicked a few things, and they said, join for $2.99 a month or $29.99 for the year. And I said, let's see how the month goes, and we'll decide from there. I mean, I watch, I watch fights on, Spanish television and shit like that. I'll watch just about anything, You're watching fights from all corners of the globe that no reasonable individual has any interest in. I just happen to have to pay for it a little bit.
I'm just trying to kind of pull up his record here for the drugs that he took. Right. I'm sure it was like fucking like EPO. I did go growth hormone EPO. Was that GW501516? What the hell is that? That's another EPO type drug, I believe. In fact, I don't know if he got caught twice. Did he not get caught twice?
I think so.
Fucking muppet. What a fucking muppet, eh?
I think he was getting ready for his comeback fight after his suspension, and he got popped.
And then he started breaking that he come out with another positive test, and another one for something else, and another one for a third fucking substance. It was just fucking outrageous. You know, growth hormone, man. That's wild shit that he's taking. Growth hormone. Fuck me.
I think it's just, I don't know. There's a lot to take in here. Let's get to some questions. Wonder where Rob's at. Let's see here. John Kearns. Oh, let's get the thanks, Steve. Let's see here. Hi, Steve. Sack this off if required, as I appreciate the pod doesn't always focus on amateur boxing. Class job as always, by the way. Does the move by Golden Boy Boxing into the management of professional fighters, Lauren Price, Karras, Ehringstall, potential others, signify the end of British Olympic success? Oh, does the move by Great Britain Boxing into the management of professional fighters? My apologies. It's almost as if they are preempting the lack of future opportunity for amateurs due to the corruption uncertainty of AIBA and capitalizing on potential money making from any half-decent prospects they have left. When they put their best coaches' focus into this, where does that leave the development of the remaining talent on the squad who may not be as marketable? Wow, Steve, I don't know anything about this. This seems like a really interesting development, and it's very gray area that probably shouldn't be crossed into, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to John, actually. I think he summed it up quite well. I don't know a great deal about the whole thing, but they're obviously maximising their opportunities. And what happens to the people who aren't good enough? I suppose they end up on Skid Row at the end of the day. There's blurred lines now between professional and amateur boxing. You've got guys and girls turning pro, going back to the Olympics, coming backwards and forwards. You've got IEBA disappearing off. They're being replaced now by the IBA. And who knows? Everyone's chasing the pound. And if that's what Great Britain Boxing they're going to do, then it's going to leave some people on the sidelines. I'm not really the greatest person to ask on amateur boxing as it is, but they're trying to maximise the revenue potentials. People will get left behind. Amateur boxing's in an absolute mess. I like to see daylight between the two codes. I'm not really a fan of these things between going back and forward. And, once you're a pro, either stay as a pro or go back to an amateur. I don't like them crossing back and forward. The World Series of Boxing always seemed to me like a nice little bridge, common ground between the two to bridge from one to the other. So that could have stayed. But yeah, I don't like the cross back and forward. But Great Britain have obviously seen the way things are heading and have jumped in accordingly. And this Price and Artingstall, Ozzy was mentioning them before. Apparently there are a couple of talented amateurs on the way up. So we'll wait to see how they develop. But I've lost interest in amateur boxing a lot over recent years, so that's all I can add on that one.
Andy, do you have any thoughts?
I can't mind much about the question again, mate, to be honest with you, but just on the AIBA situation, obviously, as Steve says, they've been rebranded to try and distance themselves for the previous administration. I think it was just corruption. I think it was like something like 10 million in debt, or they had debts of something like 10 million and they needed a Russian to pay it off. They've now got a Russian now heading the current setup as it is. I didn't watch as much amateur boxing as to what I used to, actually. I mean, I watched the big events like the Olympics, Worlds maybe, but other than that, mate, we've had a good run, shall we say, British guys coming in. Whether that ends now, I don't know, but the money's been getting pumped into it, to be honest with you. But I think with the background with the Russian situation and the corruption, you often wonder some of these guys think, is it even worth it? Because we've seen that time and time again the amount of corruption that goes on some of the judges and some of the scoring. It's just fucking outrageous. It's a totally different sport. You can actually hurt your opponent, actually get them have a standing 10, standing 8 count, and still not get the round as a 10-8. It could also be a 10-9. So sometimes I don't think the body punching gets recognition for scoring punches sometimes in the amateurs. I don't know if that's changed a wee bit, but as I say,
I'm fine with all of that, though, if they quit blurring the line, because I think maybe that's the mistake they made is kind of blurring the rules and shit and things of that nature, removing the headgear. Like maybe that was all bad moves because they blur the line so much, and maybe they just quit caring.
I would probably say, see if you'd ask a lot of fighters, do they prefer fighting with the head? I think they was saying no, the head guard, because it can limit your vision, especially your peripheral vision. If you've got one of those head guards on that's got the kind of bar right across the nose, so you've actually just got like the kind of wee fucking letterbox window to look through. And you're constantly kind of like moving it about and trying to kind of reposition it if it starts to slip a wee bit because it's not on tight enough. I think it was a great thing to take away the head guards. And the other thing as well is obviously you can run the risk of headbutts, head clashes, cuts, that type of thing, which is just par for the course for the pro scene. And I think it actually probably helps them actually, but getting ready for going up to the pro scene, because you need to remember as well, AIBA actually had a few semi-pro programs like the World Series of Boxing. And I think there was another one that was it APB or ABP, whatever it was, another semi-pro type thing. But again, fell apart, I believe, because of finances or they fell into debts. And I think in the end, the World Series of Boxing just stopped trading. I think, or just stopped, being whatever it was. But certainly, there's been a lot of dodgy stuff been getting exposed since Rio. I think it was, obviously with the money situation, political favors, backstabbing, money changing hands, fucking outrageous stuff. Like, I mean, like literally gangsters running fucking the amateur boxing scene for like Kazakhstan and fucking Russia, all that type of thing. So it just needs to be. You can rebrand it all you want, but it just needs to be ripped apart, possibly, because some of the judging, some of the refereeing is just fucking deplorable, to be honest with you.
Steve, what are your thoughts on how they've changed the rules in amateur boxing and gone to a 10-point system instead of point scoring punches and things of that nature? Is that kind of, have we kind of just walked into this because of doing those changes?
I don't know. I don't really know about the current scoring system. I know it's gone through various iterations. They used to have the computer, didn't they? There was the whole fuss with Roy Jones in the 1988 Seoul Olympics. Last time I was at the amateur boxing, probably the Irish seniors back in 2011, 2012. It was kind of peak years. Kenny
You went
Egan.
to watch old people punch each other, Steve?
I thoroughly used to be class back then. It was real cream of the crop stuff, and they used to do it by rounds. Was it by rounds then, or was it by points? I can't even remember. I think it was. I remember us looking on the screens and stuff. I don't really know about the point scoring system. Maybe bring it more in line with the pros. They've tried. They keep trying different things. And certain things don't work, and they have different corruptions and scandals. As Andy says, there's money floating about. The Cuban situation will be interesting now as well. The fact that they've gone to pro boxing on the island, how will the lines blur between amateur and pro there? Obviously, they'll be training alongside one another. You would imagine, the ones that don't kind of escape the island. So it's all a bit of a mess, especially when there's money involved. And I don't know whether they'll ever come to a conclusion about the point scoring system. And it'll all be tailored for people going into the pros. Wherever the money is, it'll be tailored for that, I would think. That's all I've got to add.
I find that, Steve, actually. I forgot about the Cuban situation. I'm sorry, Matt. Just one more thing I actually forgot as well. See, the last Olympics, I think, maybe it was the Worlds, but the winners were actually getting like at least, I think it was something like $50,000 or $60,000 for winning it. So that's not an amateur. That's not amateur sport anymore. That's that's you getting paid. That's you like professional fucking money. I just thought I'd mention that as well, because if you start kind of like paying these guys, are you paying them, or are you inducing them to kind of stay amateur? Because at the end of the day, they'd rather probably just turn pro and start punching for pay anyway, rather than getting jobbed in fucking shitty places like fucking Romania, for example,
They would, but it depends on the pay, I suppose, Andy, as well. If an organisation is willing to pump a lot of money into it, some of them could earn a really good living wage being an amateur boxer, in quote marks, during the year and getting paid on a weekly basis, whereas they could turn pro, they might not be that good, they could end up, not a ticket seller, and they're punching for pay, but not punching at all, or punching for very much pay. Whereas if they stay amateur, get looked after by the system, they might be better off financially.
Was Paddy Barnes not like something like that as well?
They used to pay them, and they'll be better off rather than float. There's a lot of fighters. They might turn pro, but they might not be that good of a pro, or situations might not align in their favour, and you end up in that middle ground of where you're not good enough to become an elite fighter, but you're not bad enough to become a journeyman, and you'd be better off staying amateur and taking the wage.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just still trying to wrap my mind around the thought that very recently in Ireland they're saying, I'm not too sure about women punching each other in the ring, but geriatrics, sign me up.
Geriatrics? Jerry Adams?
Anyway, speaking of geriatric Irishmen,
I
Rob
thought you were
Kelly,
going to say, speaking of
join the
Jerry
call.
Adams, bring in Rob. But it's like, fucking hell. I got that. He hasn't gone away, you know.
Oh, Rob, there's a fair bit going on this weekend, so why don't you just give a summary for the folks?
Yeah, no, it was a great day. A lot of celebrations around Celtic Park. Presentation for the trophy and everything was absolutely unreal. What a weekend! What? Sorry, you be on time. Yeah, what went down this weekend? It was the big upset that fucked up my prediction league. Bakole versus Yoka.
That wasn't in the prediction league.
Oh,
Rob,
great.
We're going on mediocre now, mate.
Why mediocre? Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, I picked the wrong one in that one. I thought Yoka would do better than Bakole, but obviously Billy Nelson's been going around looking for a fight for Bakole for a reason, because he still believes that he can make an impact on the current dent of heavyweights or depth of heavyweights. And to be honest, that's a pretty good result for him. And I don't think maybe I just haven't seen enough of Yoka to make a proper judgment call. But I would have thought he would have handled the likes of Bakole. But Bakole, I think he had some excuses, didn't he? The time he got beat by Hunter. So maybe I was reading too much into that. But I like Bakole. He can crack a little bit. He's exciting. Apparently they tried to job him on the cards. Now I haven't seen the fight, so I can't comment. It wouldn't be one of those ones I go back to now when I already know the result to go and see how fucking Bakole and Yoka did on a Saturday night.
Mate. They tried to fuck him without the 2 knockdowns, man. Mediocre would have got the fucking decision, split decision.
Boxing in
That's how bad it was.
Boxing fucking hometown decisions. Rear the ugly head again, or almost. But well, look, I'm glad. Look, at least he didn't get jobbed. At least he got the result, because that would have been bad. Charlo Castano, good scrap again. Castano put everything he could into the fight, but he was just going to fall short against Charlo. Charlo now is not having it with anybody. He's going at anybody who listen, isn't he? He's tearing everybody's resume to shreds, not his own. But no, I think he's the best at 154. But I still think like a likes of a Lara or someone will give him trouble. I'm not 100% above this Maul. Is it Maul or Mel, this guy? Which one is it again? I can never fucking remember which one is
Mel,
which.
wasn't it, I think?
Mel. Yeah, I'm not like fully on the Mel hype train. Like I think he has
Mel B. Mel C.
You busted you. He's I think he's got like fucking really, really strong attributes in terms of he's like a really athletic. But like his technique, I just think against like a more skilled or seasoned guy like a Spence or Crawford, I think he'd become undone now. He is bigger again. He can probably go up to 160, can't he? But no, fight kind of went the way I expected. And they're talking like what are they saying? He's undisputed now, isn't he? At 154, Charlo. Like so, there's a lot of chatter that he's in the top 5 pound for pound. No, I don't put much faith in the fucking pound for pound rankings anyway. They're all subjective. But even if I was being subjective, I don't think I'd have him in the top 5 fighters in the world for me yet. I think he still needs his coming out party. He needs a big opponent, and he needs to win emphatically against a top level opponent for me to give him that kind of credit. But he is excited. I mean, apart from his fucking personality, which is bores me to tears, that whole shtick where he's so sensitive and emotional all the time and always barking and going around the place. That puts me up. But I'm an old man who's grumpy. Maybe the young kids love all that shit, like, and you know what I mean. But it's not for me. I think he's got good range, as I say, good athletic ability. He has decent power, and he's a good fight at 54. You know, he's not going to give Lara a fight at this stage. I don't know. Lara's the boogeyman, isn't he? Like at 154 for the last fucking 10 years. Like, but it'd be a good benchmark to see where he really is in terms of ability. If he could like go in there and blast Lara out, that'd be a pretty big statement.
Oh, Lara's at 160 now, and he's defending.
Oh, is he?
He's defending his something or other title that I forgot that he had.
That's right. I forgot he went up to 160.
He beat the cornflake, didn't he, for that title? What do you call him?
Something.
I can't remember his name.
Yep. Now he's going to take on Spike O'Sullivan for. I'm telling you, it's big news for Lara.
That's right.
Big news.
Right.
Well, Spike was in that fight with David Lemieux until he got knocked out.
He had a good 35 seconds anyway.
He's fighting next week, isn't he, Lemieux? Who's he fighting?
Benavidez.
Oh fuck, that's gonna be a massacre, man. Jesus Christ.
Crusher didn't get the job done inside the distance like I thought he would. He snored to a snooze fest 12 round decision, didn't he, on the Triller Onyx versus Cypress Hill card. Fucking hell, 2022. Talk about washed, Jesus Christ.
Rob, we've got listeners actually wanting to hear your complete breakdown of the Cypress Hill rap battle.
I haven't watched it because tell them all I was steaming for the whole weekend because Celtic won the league. So I was just pretty much on soccer this weekend. If they want to talk about football, we can talk football. But other than that, I haven't seen fuck all because I was steaming, and I plan on being steaming more and more as I go on. Maybe steaming every weekend on the pod. That'd be good, wouldn't it? So no, I can't give them a breakdown. I saw some clips online. I'm a big fan of both groups, actually, obviously because of my age and everything. They were kind of at the height of their powers when I was a teenager. So, but yeah, I can't give you a break. But I heard it was one of the worst of the Triller rap battles. I think everybody in the crowd was kind of stone faced. So I don't know. I don't know what was going on there.
No Serafina in the crowd.
That's what your Triller event is missing. Yeah, you're missing Serafina. You need a Dipset versus Locks to bring out the New Yorkers like Serafina. Actually, Sarah's been quiet lately, hasn't she? She's
in Dubai, I think. She's not got one of her fighters there in Dubai now.
Oh, is she? She was trying to sue somebody last time I saw.
Rick Glazer.
Rick Glazer,
Oh, that's right. That's Rick. And now she's in Dubai. Suspicious.
Moving some cash.
Oh, fuck's sake. Anyway, it's Baumgartner's world these days. Everyone else is just living in it.
Oh man! Speaking of this last week, the update on the predictions. All three of us, except for Andy, went with Charlo by stoppage. He went points, and then you guys went Kovalev stoppage. I went Pulev stoppage. So Rob and Steve both getting 5 points last week. Ooh. Andy getting 4, me getting 3. Puts Rob 2 points in the lead, with Steve and Andy tied at 35 and me lingering in a shithole at 30.
Do you want to know
how long are you running this for, by? Because the tension this is fucking killing us.
So now you gotta believe it. So now you gotta believe it.
Get up every morning, every weekend to look at results now, and you think about this. You wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and say, "What did I pick last week? What's this fucking result here? What the fucking what? I fucking lost again." So there you go, man. This is so when we finishing this shit.
I was rooting for fucking Tony Yoka versus Bakole because of the prediction. I didn't even watch the fight. Come on, Yoka.
What about Joe Kennedy's prediction league? I think you're sliding, Rob.
That's obviously fake news. Like, that's a parallel universe of prediction league. I'm top of this one. That's all that matters.
You're St. Mirren.
It's just it's very poetic with Titanic. You know, he's king of the world on the front of the ship, where in truth he's living down in the dungeon.
Listen, Joe Kennedy. It's up to Joe Kennedy to go through the Boxing Asylum archives and go back and get all the picks I got right to put me back in my rightful spot as top of the fucking both prediction leagues.
There you
and
go.
I'm sure he's going to do that as well, isn't he, Joe?
We had one more question in there, I think, and then we'll get to the previews. Ryan Deal. Let's see here. Oh, Jesus Christ. What cost more, Coogan's water bill or Dave Coldwell's heating bill?
Ooh, that's a tricky one, that. It's an extremely tricky one, that. I don't think Caldwell's heating bill will be too expensive during the summer months, so you might save some money there. So I've got to go for Coogan, because you've got to pay for your water all the time, haven't you? Every month, doesn't matter. Even when we run dry in the summer months, you still got to pay your water bill, so I'm going to say Coogan.
The good thing on Coogan is that his supply chain for his water doesn't have anything to do with Russia, so he's probably good.
Yeah.
his cash supply chain, I think, comes from different sources.
Coogan and Eddie, I caught Coogan and Eddie first 3 minutes of their interview during the week there, actually. I'm going to nominate it for Belly of the Week, because it was funny as fuck listening to them actually sit there debating about whether Canelo's arm punches were actually scoring shots. You would think a guy who's been involved in boxing for this long would actually probably know that it's not a scoring shot.
He knows, he'll say anything.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, actually, Matty, can I just briefly, I forgot to mention earlier, can I just briefly shit on Mike Coppinger? Because apparently he mentioned in the press conference last night or something about super welterweight, like middleweight, 154, whatever you want to call it, is starting to heat up. I mean, I don't know where he's been for the last 3 or 4 years, where Hurd, Harrison, Lara, J-Rock, the other Charlo, Lubin have all been busy fighting each other on PBC, but it's just about to start heating up, apparently.
Yes, it's going to heat up any more. I think that we probably will all perish from the warmth.
You think when there's been an undisputed champion crowned, it's called the culmination of the heating, like it's come to boil, but it's just heating up for Mike.
I'm surprised that this wasn't in your nomination, Steve. I feel like this is the wrong portion of the show.
Yeah, that's true.
The heat is on for a lot of the boxing community at the moment. Things are heating up all over the place.
Even Dave Caldwell.
Do you know what's going to be really hot? Do you know what's going to be really hot on Friday, Rob?
Go for it.
Down in Florida, man, at 175 pounds, we got a fucking battle brewing between Fan Long Meng and Jean Pascal.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Does that mean Pascal is back with Roy Jones if this is in Florida?
Possibly.
File
that
that shit right
going
in the bin.
on anymore.
Antonio Tarver was promoting this, wasn't he? It's on some special channel that he's involved
Is it not
in.
on Antonio Tarver's YouTube channel? It's like $1.99 to watch it on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think so.
God damn it! I'm going to spend another $2
poverty,
this month.
man, isn't it? Fucking mere fucking subscription channels, man. Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm trying to think. When was the last time Pascal was in the ring?
What was it? He got fucked up. Who was it off?
Badger Jackie fought, didn't he? Bivol,
Draw.
Marcus Brown.
I can't. Did he not get fucked up in his last fight? I'm trying to remember. Was the fight before that?
We're going there.
He had a nice little Indian summer there, didn't he, Pascal?
Yeah.
He was in great shape for a while.
It was loaded though, wasn't it?
He was working out. Yeah,
he managed to later in
his
life.
last fight, he beat Badu Jack.
2019.
I mean, to be fair, it was the very end of 2019, but he's been out of the ring for 2.5 years.
That's
getting his man strength now, isn't he? He's just maturing.
Aye.
Well, he mysteriously didn't he deregister from the fucking enrollment into the VADA testing himself? Didn't he do that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he did, didn't he?
I think so. But also as well, remember he was not like nominated or quoted as a potential comeback of the year after beating Marcus Brown and Badu Jack in 2019, and then.
Did he fail a test? Allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test, but I know, didn't he fail a test?
I'm sure
Pascal?
he did.
I think he did.
He
He
did
might be banned, isn't he? Serving a ban at the moment.
Rob, I want to call back, see if you can remember about 3.5 years ago. It was a Saturday night.
3.5
I can't remember 3.5 minutes.
It was in 2018, November 24th, against Frank Buglioni. What were you doing on that Saturday night when Fan Long Meng was in the ring?
Anything other than watching fucking that fight, I can tell you. I'm probably only good old Frank. He was good. He was good entertainment, though, wasn't he, Buglioni? Not that I fucking ever watched him, but he would have been. He had a good fan base, didn't he?
So Fan Long Meng is actually 34 years old. Like, he's no spring chicken. His pro career is going on 7 years at this point in time, and I mean, looking at the names on there, I mean, you got Buglioni, Emmanuel Danso. I have no idea who that was. He was 28-1 at the time. Adam Danes, 17-0-1 at the time. I think I remember that fight, and Meng went down in that one. And then he had one fight at the tail end of last year, but he was pretty inactive in there. Man, I'm curious on the odds on this one. Don't you guys almost think, and this is not in our prediction link, by the way, I have a hard time picking against Jean Pascal at this fucking point in time, based on experience alone.
But the thing is, he's not fought in 3 years, so what do we know? What's he got left? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean,
are you picking for this fight?
This isn't in the prediction league. I don't know.
You're talking about bookies and money and betting and that.
And I always bet just little bits of money just to keep it fun and shit. But I'm thinking just putting. I mean, if Pascal's an underdog in this one, I'd put some money on Pascal.
I don't know, mate. To be honest with you, at this point, Meng's not really kind of campaigned at fucking
Meng.
Yeah, but he's not campaigned at any great level either. Be fucking Frank Buglioni, man. Jesus Christ. And you see Pascal's not fought in 3 years. I just don't know what to expect. And plus, it's getting stuck behind a $1.99 YouTube channel. $1.99 says it all. Actually, for me, it's just shit. And this guy, I think he was even on the verge of a world title fight at one point. Was he not? And that's been fucking pissed away because situation was going on in China. I think was it not Beterbiev refused to fight him because
Meng was supposed to fight
Muslims?
Beterbiev. DNS, who Matty mentioned, ended up fighting Beterbiev in the end, didn't he? I think.
He got absolutely ruined. I think. But Matty, I pity you, mate, if you're fucking betting on this fight. Like, to be honest with you, mate, I don't mean that in a bad way, but fuck me, man. Fucking betting on this shit. I take it. There's quite a wee bit. I think there's a fair bit of itty bitty fights on next week. I guess a wee bit like this week's just going to be spread over. I think this one will be very. This one will be very, very low down in my fucking list of fights to kind of catch up on next week. Like.
Yes. Is there a card that you prefer on Friday, Steve? Is there a better card on Friday?
I don't know, actually. There is another card on the weekend, isn't there? Brad Foster, I think,
The
is
DT
fighting.
card, is it no? And the
Yeah,
zone card as well.
He's on against Balloona or Balloon or something.
His own
Baluta.
Spain. Oh, can't he wait for that?
Oh,
Man.
I haven't got that on the list. Isn't Alan Canuli next week as well? He's fighting next week, I think, isn't he?
Where's that meant to be happening?
I thought you were I thought you were talking. There's a Channel 5 card going on. You wanted to talk about.
Oh no, that was last Friday. I was talking about. Sorry, the Udofia Bentley fight. That's happened. Who won, Matty? Who do you think won? Udofia against Bentley. Who won?
Not a clue.
It was Bentley. Denzel Bentley won against Udofia. Nice little scrap last Friday evening. The Dark Fraud was out in force as well with his usual brand of bullshit with Josh Kelly lying over making the weight and stuff. He's an absolute chance of the Dark Fraud. But he wasn't involved. He wasn't involved in the main event. Udofia undefeated against Denzel Bentley. Good British title scrap. Bentley just about did enough in the end for me. Two former guests and friends of the pod, actually, those two guys. It was a good scrap on Friday night. No Fat Mick, unfortunately, on Channel 5, which felt a bit wrong for me, but it was a good fight. I'm sure a few of the UK boys, Matty, caught it as well.
Oh, right on. Well, I'm glad that there was a good card on there. There's so many things going on. Sometimes we even miss them. You know, the schedules are. That'd be the one thing that would be great is if somebody would actually get a concise schedule together, because the schedules together are just entirely off, and there's some random things that we miss from time to time.
See, last night
he's fighting Danny Dignam next week.
He's fighting Danny Dignam. Last night there was a show on Sky, one of those boxers, like a prize fighter thing, the cruiserweights. I didn't even know it was on. About 7:05 in the Boxing Nutters WhatsApp messenger group, someone said, "Oh, are you watching this?" And I turned it on, and they were talking about scanning QR codes so you could watch the whole night's action in vertical viewing. Sounds a bit like a heat map gimmick to me. And I thought, you know what a load of absolute bollocks this is. I didn't really watch much of it, but a few people said it was quite fun, apparently. So there you go. I didn't even know it was happening. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What happens if you suffer like vertigo or anything like that?
And I guess before we move on, I'd be remiss to mention that Hannah Rankin won by 10th round stoppage last week in Glasgow.
We should also say, Matty, that was apparently on a Dennis Hopson show last night.
Well, and hold on, but her opponent Alejandra Alaya is apparently recovering in the hospital. She had it pretty rough, so our best wishes to Alejandra Ayala in that one. Sounds like it was a pretty rough fight. I didn't get a chance to catch that one, but you were saying, Andy?
No, that's what I was going to mention, mate. It was just about that woman being badly injured. But sounds like she's been badly injured at least.
Yeah, it's a serious sport on both ends of it. You know, these things they happen. It's part of the risk that comes with it, but we still absolutely wish her the best in recovery.
That's two females now in the last so many months that they've been badly injured.
Yeah, but how many men have been injured badly in the ring in the last handful of months?
I'm not sure, but to be honest, I think it just maybe it gets highlighted more when it's a woman that gets badly hurt or badly knocked out or whatever. You know, I mean, I've never seen the fight, so I don't know like if we're talking like type of level is she at? You know, is she just like a journey woman or is she just a bum? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe just she's out of depth. I don't know. I didn't ever saw the fight, but hopefully she pulls through. Like. Matty.
Oh, yes, absolutely wishing her the best. And moving on, though, not going to hit this fight yet, but guys, I'm having a trouble deciding what fight to put in on top of Buatsi versus Richards this week. It's a little bit of funky pickings. I know where I'm leaning on some things. We do have that 135-pound clash from Ghana with Tevin Farmer and Mickey Bay. I know Andy is super excited for that one.
I'll wait for you breakdown for that fight, mate. I'm going to get you the link for it. And you're going to sit and watch it and give us a chapter and verse explanation.
No, I actually have very little interest in that. I'll tell you what the fight
nervous breakdown.
Tell you the fight I'm leaning to, guys, is on the undercard of Janibek Alam Kanuli. You like that, Steve? Alam Kanuli against Danny Dignam.
Yep.
Is going to be Jamel
Herring. You practiced that in the mirror, you cunt,
moving up. See, I did. It was Jamel Herring moving up to 135 pounds and taking on Jermaine Ortiz, who we've seen in a few fights. This is an interesting fight. I haven't seen any numbers come out on this one, the places that I booked some bets at. I don't know. Steve, what are your thoughts on Jamel Herring continuing his career, moving up to 135 pounds? He did look tight at the weight against Stevenson, to say the least.
Yeah, I thought he would can it after Stevenson, to be honest. He had the big win over Frampton. It felt like a bit of a cash out, not in a negative sense as such. He got well paid. He lost to a young up-and-coming guy. I thought that maybe that would be the end of it, but I'm assuming Top Rank have given him opportunities. He's in against Jermaine Ortiz, you say, the technician from Worcester, Massachusetts. I recognise the name, but he's one of these prospects who just all melds into one for me. Managed to draw against Joseph Adorno. I'm sure I've seen him fight at some point. Can't remember much about him. Are they feeding Herring to him because they think he's a prospect? Do they think that this is a good even matchup to see what Herring's got left? Who knows? Didn't know it was on the undercard, Matty, but this fight has actually intrigued me a little bit, so I'm going to be looking forward to it on Top Rank next weekend.
Yeah, I am too, and it seems like one of those fights where we haven't really seen enough of one of the fighters to take a good grasp at it. Would you say that's fair, Andy? Do you want to toss this one out? Not good enough for the predictions? Or did he go for a whiz or something on me?
Sorry, mate. Just back there. I meant to make a wee note in the chat. What was the question?
Jamel Herring versus Jermaine Ortiz. Do you think that's good enough for the prediction league?
No, fuck you, mate. No. He's a fight it's got a bit of... It's going to create a bit of 50-50, whereas we're all picking the same fucking fighter with the same...
Pick the Rangers fans versus the police in Seville.
That'll be easy.
Well, the tough thing about that's on the undercard of Janovic Ellen Canuli against Danny Dignam. I don't know much about Danny Dignam, guys, but I'm taking Ellen Canuli by stoppage in that one. I don't think there's much to separate for us there.
We'll try to find something else on the schedule for next week.
Tell you what, fuck this league. Can we just fucking...
Can we just carry on? I think he was about to say.
Respectfully.
Rob's wanting to end it by email again, apparently.
Danny Dignam, though, Matty, he's the Belfast killer. Well, I suppose Conrad Cummings isn't from Belfast, but he knocked him out. He knocked out Alfredo Melli as well. He's going to have a tough time against Alim Canuli. This is a vacant belt, isn't it? Interim, because we don't know what Andrade's doing. He's not going to beat Alim Canuli. I wish him well, as Porky would say, but it's a big ask.
Who else? What's the other picks you've got for us, mate?
Well, I had an idea on this one, guys. No. I had an idea. David Benavidez versus David Lemieux. Set the over-under on knockdowns at 2.5.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. I think he would... Well, I think he's going to smoke him, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'll go for that. I'll go for a couple of knockdowns.
Okay, you think it's going to be more two or more than two?
Fuck this league. This is way too much thought to be given it to fucking David Lemieux.
This is what I'm saying.
We're going
to wake up next week and I say, what did I pick again? Did I pick... the fact is, I'm going to wake up next week, right? And Box Rights are going to tell me if Lemieux's been dropped on his ass 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I've got to come downstairs and then watch the fucking fight. Fuck this league.
Yeah. 2.5 we're setting it at. Over under 2.5 knockdowns.
Fucking hell. Yeah, I'll go for over 2.5 knockdowns.
Over. Steve.
Two things. I'll go for under. I think Lemieux will take his beating and get stopped on his feet. And MB's right there. Check out on the undercard here. Elvis Gomez. Exciting Cuban, not a boring Cuban. He fought on Christmas Day on the Melnicki card. He comes forward and he throws absolute bombs. He knocked out Clay Collard. He's definitely worth a watch him.
Look at his box rec picture. He says he's 24. My arse.
Yeah, 24 with 3 packs of Camels a day, buddy. It all adds up.
Fucking hell, man. He's at the anti-aging clinic. Looks there. Looks like 34. Don't mind 24.
Rob, over under.
Over under what? I'm over this fucking league and under the weather.
Rob's going under.
Can you hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah. 2.5 knockdowns, over under.
2.5. How do you get a half knockdown? Does he go into the ropes and the ropes keep him up?
Is this going to be this side? Exactly it. That's exactly it. There can't be a half knockdown, so it's going to be 2 or less, or it's going to be more than 2. So you set the line at 2.5.
It's ridiculous talk. I don't understand this at all. I'm going to go for fucking Benavidez stoppage. I don't think he'll be more than 2 knockdowns. Don't know. Under. Okay. I'm going on the under. Fucking
all right. I actually, God, I actually agree. I agree with Rob on that one. So we're going the under on that one. I'm with you guys. God, I love fucking with. It's so hilarious. You guys are so fucking.
Well, I'm glad we're having fun anyway, Matty. That's what it's all about.
At 10 o'clock.
He missed me cracking up there about 15 minutes ago. And he was like, I wish someone would give us a more defined schedule. We fucking got 3.5 hours covering what the fuck we're covering as it is.
You
Fucking
guys are
wasn't
so
more fights
fucking
in it.
emotional. You're so fucking emotional. It's great. I can hear the strain in Rob's laugh. Like he's really emotionally.
He's going to turn into Katie.
Don't start.
He's gonna go goddamn mad. This is great. Oh man.
No, I think people
I
get that off me sometimes. I need to watch that because like inside I'm genuinely not that bad, but like I know sometimes like it's not just you that are saying that, other people in my life are saying that. Sometimes I appear to be very hot-headed when I'm not. In fact, I'm calm on the inside. I just appear on the outside, on the exterior, that I'm emotional, but I'm not really that.
You misunderstood, Rob.
It's that intense.
I think I am, Andy.
It's that intense vocal delivery, Rob.
That's what it is. I need to watch that. Speak more softly.
Yeah. Think more like Biggie. Think more like Biggie. Go the smooth route. Yeah.
What are you fucking Jimmy? What are you fucking? What's his name? Jimmy 2 times. I'm gonna go get the paper. Get paper.
Oh fuck, man, dude! And by the way, it's took me all week to figure out that Friends that you were doing before I realized it was the In-Betweeners, the football Friends. It took me fucking forever to realize where the fuck that was from. Anyways, I'll tell you what though, guys. Like this fight, like I think as long as it lasts, it's gonna be entertainment. Okay, it's on Showtime. It's not a highly competitive fight, but I think it's going to be fun while it lasts. Would anybody argue with that? This isn't a fucking chess match.
Nah, Lemieux has no business at super middleweight. He's looked like dog dirt. People talk about the vaunted power, but I don't think he's knocked anybody out since he's moved up. And I was doing a script for it on Motor Video, and I was trying to make a case for Lemieux, with the power and all, but I was struggling badly. I just don't see how he's going to beat Benavidez. I'm not a fan of this, and I think that Benavidez, if he doesn't stop him, then it'll be on his back. But yeah, I can't make much of a case for Lemieux at all.
That's the other thing, by the way. It's an interim title fight, I believe. So, and Benavidez is like fucking talking like to fight Canelo and all that. Fucking people, he needs to fucking look good. Plus, he needs to make weight as well.
What title is it for, Andy? It's not WBC. He's going to be like a 13-time WBC champion, isn't it?
Interim WBC title. Cannot believe it. Incredible, eh? Oh, by the way, talking about WBC, did you see the cunts last night trying to get the t-shirt onto Jamel Charlo?
Great bunch of lads.
They took forever because he wasn't for moving his arms and that, and the guy standing there with the fucking t-shirt folded up like and ready to put over his head. And he gets it over his head, and then he's going to wait to try and get his arms through the sleeves. I'm like, what a fucking mess. Maybe he just doesn't want to wear this shit. Anything to get their cheap tat out there, though, eh?
We'll be crooks.
Well, moving on over to Saturday on y'all's side of the pond. Got that card headlined by Joshua Buatsi against Craig Richards. But on the undercard, we have Chantel Cameron defending her 140-pound straps against Victoria Noel Bustos, who is 23-6, never been stopped. But
she's from Argentina.
God, I think you might be right. I didn't write that down in my notes from Chicks with Dig, Rob, but I do know that she lost to Cecilia Brækhus in 2019 and Katie Taylor in 2018. And she's got a fair motor, doesn't punch very hard, and she leans to her right a lot. And Chantel Cameron does have a pistol of her right.
Look at you, Ben Davison.
Never know. Yeah.
She leaves a lot of exits and entrances there, doesn't she?
Yeah. Well, there's at least 3.
Yeah.
Outrageous, man.
We haven't even got Donnie on this week to capitalize on that. Anyway.
Done, no. 7 years.
That type of talk, Matty, would get you kicked off, Chicks with Digs.
Just very well. Good, Steve. But I'll tell you what.
People are going to miss that if it goes to the fucking wall, aren't they?
I think they will. I think it will. It's going to become the preeminent podcast in the realm of women's boxing. While simultaneously possibly being the worst. That's the great thing about being, competitor of one. You are.
I don't. I'm sure it's not that bad.
You should come on one day, Rob.
I don't think so.
You walked into that one, Rob.
I'm tired of talking to myself.
To talk like Katie for half an hour.
Yeah, just Katie as the co-host.
Yeah,
for the
we
whole
need to
show.
have a full interview. Jesus Christ. But anyways, but Cameron, she's got that good right hand. I could see her getting to Bustos a lot. As long as she keeps moving forward, she doesn't do that great moving backwards. Can get a little slappy with the left. But I look for that right hand to be the story of the fight for Chantel Cameron. Probably not getting the stoppage. Bustos is tough, but that was at lower weights, against Katie Taylor at least. So you never know. Getting on up there in age, anything is possible. But also moving up that card, I'm going to do my best impression here, Steve. I'm going to come up behind him, reach and caress his balls. Alan Babbage taking on Adam Ball.
Uncanny.
Cabbage Babbage is back. Oh my
Rough
god.
Elton, man.
What's it said? He's some retarded guy.
Oh shit, man.
Hergovich, that's who it was that said that.
Yep.
He's some retarded guy.
I want to see that fight, but I'm sick like that. I don't know.
Babbage against Hergovich?
I do.
Fucking hell,
I'm sick like that. I don't know. I think it'd be fun to watch. Babbage is weird, dude. He's sloppy as fuck. He really is.
We don't need to know that. We know he is.
Every once in a while, he has these little sneaky boxing moves that he puts in there that are just very random. Like I don't know. He's entertaining as fuck. He makes me laugh. I don't know what to say about Adam Bolski. But I'd keep him away from your balls there, Ski. Probably not going to try to caress them. I think that was an incorrect wordage. I don't know. Steve, do you have any thoughts on this heavyweight scrap?
Well, I think, is it heavyweight? It might be cruiserweight, but all I know from watching this is Balski. I'm looking at his photo here on BoxRec. He's got Tevin Farmer eyes, and he's got a LinkedIn photo like Adam Abramovich. So I don't hold out much hope for him, to be honest. I expect the Savage is going to get a knockout here.
Let's see. God, how old is Masterneck now? He lost to Masterneck a couple of
late
fights
30s
back.
now. Must be late 30s.
Yeah. No one really standing out on that resume. Oh God, he fought Grashev, man. Grashev just keeps going. That's ridiculous. Well, I don't know. Could be fun. Could be a good time. Then moving on up the card as we make our way upwards. I think this is a higher quality fight. Andy, you tell me. Robbie Davies Jr. against Javier Molina over 10.
I don't know, mate. To be honest with you, is that the one that fought Pedraza? I think it is.
Did he fight Jesus Ramos? He might have fought Jesus Ramos.
I can't mind.
Decent fight. This is actually a decent fight, I think, Andy.
It should be.
Fight Ramos.
It should be. It says. I want to pick it up about the Lundy fight. Maybe he's seen better days, but he's come back well since he have a shock defeat a couple of years ago, Davis Jr. But as I say, again, he's kind of like running out in time in his career now as well. So he's going to have to win this fight. Look, just win the fight anyway. It's for some sort of belt on the line, WBA ranking points, I suppose. But I'll say Davis beats him. I'll say Davis wins on points. Molina's generally quite durable, I think, so I'll go with that one. It should be a decent enough fight because obviously Molina's been in with some decent fighters, good experience. I can't remember if he's actually fought for world title, actually, to be honest with you, but it's probably an ideal opponent for Robbie Davis at this point because, as I say, fighting like Pedraza, who I know has been an ex-world champion, it's a good test for him, actually. And if he doesn't come through this one, I think that could possibly be him, to be honest with you. Maybe need to go back down to like British or European level. If he can't go over Molina to try and get himself into a mix for a world title, I just don't see him getting there if he doesn't win this fight.
I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Molina win this one. He's gone 10 rounds with Ramos, who's a really good prospect. He's gone 10 rounds with Pedraza, as Andy mentioned. Davis isn't great. Molina brings a good fan base. Obviously, he's not going to bring it over to the UK, unfortunately, but one of the undercards he was on, I think it was Ruiz against Areola, and they were kicking off and fighting in the stands, but unfortunately they'll not be over here with him coming from the States, but he'll give Davis a right good go. If Davis isn't on it, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Molina win this because Davis isn't that great and Molina's really battle hardened, so this ain't going to be Hank Lundy coming over and slipping and sliding around, Matty.
That's good. That's good that there's actually some decent support here for the main event. Joshua Buatsi taking on Craig Richards. This looks like it's only over 10 rounds from what I saw, 175 pounds. Rob, what are your thoughts on this one? Odds are definitely heavily in favor of Buatsi.
I'm shocked at that. How wide?
Buatsi like minus 500, so you got to bet $5 to win one.
Wow.
I don't know. I think Buatsi has all the talent, and he hasn't had really the dance partner to bring it out of him so far. And I think Craig Richards is extremely capable, as he showed against Bivol. But I think matchmaking is key with Buatsi. You need to see him move along. And if he's going to be kind of live up to his billing as a prospect, because he was a very hot prospect coming off the turn of his pro career, I think he has to do it and do it emphatically. Will he do it emphatically? I don't believe so. I think he'll sneak to a 12-round decision in a boring enough fight, actually.
Buatsi by decision there, sir?
Yeah.
All right. Andy, where are you leaning?
I'm leaning towards Richards, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yep, because he's been in with Bivol. I don't know whether Bivol just fought down at the opposition level. I don't know, but obviously kind of pushed him close a wee bit. I believe these two have actually sparred in the past, and for what I've heard or read, at least, Richards has actually, gave Buatsi a fair amount of problems in sparring. He can get tagged as well with right hands, so we'll wait and see if Richards can get a few right hands off. I'm probably siding decision fight at this point. I'm not one to try and second guess myself as such, because obviously I've been a big supporter of Buatsi in the past. Everybody knows this or probably remembers me speaking about him, and we just need to see him tested. But this will probably be, I think it will be a proper test for him, this fight, actually. Some people I've seen, I think, are picking stoppage for Buatsi. Others have got Buatsi by decision. Obviously, maybe the bookies could probably obviously suggest that's the thinking, at least. But I just think with Richards' experience, actually being in with Bivol, fighting at world level, Buatsi, I suppose he's had a wee bit of, what was that? Was it Silak, the Croatian guy? I think gave a wee bit of fright, so he's been tested in that regard. At least he's sure he's got a bit of heart about him. But I think this it's no as a straightforward fight. I don't think for Buatsi, what's maybe getting made out by the bookies possibly. I think it's a close competitive fight. Again, maybe it's my safety fallback, but if it's close, goes to the cards, Buatsi probably gets it. It just seems to be par for the course these days, but I would not write off Richards whatsoever. Actually, I think he could possibly pull this off by decision.
Richards with points, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Steve.
I would love to see Richards win this fight. I think Des has got it spot on. Richards can't go into a shell and get conned. He's got to take the initiative and make it uncomfortable for Buatsi. I'd really like to see Richards win this. I think he's done things the hard way. He's never really been favoured or looked after by Eddie or Matchroom. He's had to go away and do things. He beat Andre Sterling. He went over to Channel 5 and knocked out Shakan Pitters for the British title, unfavoured. Went in against Bivol, no messing around. Pushed him close on the cards, a point and 2 points on two of them. Bivol obviously was undermotivated and pretty much in first gear. But Richards is a big, tall, strong guy with a good jab. I think they've sparred, as Andy said. I think they fought as amateurs and Buatsi got the win. Buatsi, on the other hand, is like the opposite of Richards. He's had things pretty much his own way. He's had a strange career, as we've mentioned. He's got all the talent, but he's been really handled very carefully, matched very carefully. No breakthrough wins, no real fights. Whereas Richards has had to go on the road and earn everything. And he's a big guy as well. But I think it'll be close. And I think that Buatsi, hopefully this will be his coming out party. Well, I don't really care either way, to be honest. But I think he'll do enough to win the fight on points. Because Richards, for every big win, he's got a loss to Buglione. He's got a draw against Chad Sugden. He might have been undermotivated for that one, and I do seem to remember it was maybe a bit controversial at the time. But I think he's going to have to come out and really put it on Buatsi, and I would not be at all surprised if he won. He's battle-hardened, he's got more experience, he's been there, and he's gone in the away corner. But I think Buatsi will probably be able to weather the storm enough to get the fight on points. So I'm rooting for Richards, but I'm going for Buatsi on a close points decision, Matty.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with Buatsi by knockout for no reason other than I got to make up some ground.
I'd be shocked if Buatsi knocked him out. I really would be.
Is this in the prediction league, this fight?
Yep, this is one of the predictions. And then we had the Lemieux over under
2.5 knockdowns, and you were the only one that took over 2.5 knockdowns. It's only worth a point.
I'm the only person taking. I'm the only person taking Richards as well, but it sounds it.
Yep. This is going to be intriguing. This will make watching the fight so much more peaceful for Rob.
I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be up all night worried about it either way, Matty, to be honest with you.
I can't see much stressing going on, like fucking DAZN.
Are you going to watch this live, Rob? You wouldn't watch Frank Buglioni on a Saturday night. Would you watch somebody who's lost to Frank Buglioni on a Saturday night?
Would you watch Joshua Buatsi on a Saturday night?
We watched on Sunday night once during the pod, didn't we?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of Saturday nights I have not watched Joshua Buatsi. Definitely not live anyway, but I probably will if there's not enough football's over and all, so I probably would.
Well, there we have it. So that I think that wraps up the week. There's not like really any necessarily big fights, but there's action. So we'll have some stuff to talk about there. And then the next week, we'll be able to preview that great fight that Andy's looking forward to between Rydell Booker and Otto Vollen.
Fucking hell, mate. Wait, where's that getting held?
I think Michigan. Oh. It's getting put on by Dimitri Salita.
Just don't drink any water up there.
Yeah, I think it's being. If I saw it, I think it might be being put on in Dearborn, which is actually like the most heavily Muslim city in the country, and put on by a Jewish promoter with a German fighter. How interesting!
Aye, elite times.
I'm telling you,
money talks.
I love the Cosmopolitan Society. I am a fan, and with that, I will hand it over to a very cosmopolitan gentleman, Steve Wellings, for the Bellew of the Week.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Bellew of the Week for episode 474. Matty's here hosting, doing a great job as always. Andy's here as well, so is Rappy and Rob Kelly to lead us in. The lesser spotted these days, Ozzy Smith. He is still about. He's just busy at the moment. He'll be back on as soon as he can. He's been busy on the old video editing during the week. You may or may not have seen this dropping on Twitter. But Eddie talking about the Canelo Bivol fight, and it's fair to say poor Eduardo was quite upset.
I mean, told everyone how dangerous this fight was, and didn't expect, probably in my heart of hearts, that Dimitri Bivol would win, but knew that he was an outstanding elite fighter, and tonight he got it perfectly right, boxed the absolute perfect fight, and fully deserved the victory. I know some people felt it was a close fight, but I just felt that he was the better fighter on the night. Beautiful defence. Arm will be sore tomorrow, but took so much on the gloves. Boxed beautifully offensively, used his footwork great. His engine was incredible, hardly looked like he broke a sweat. And early on in the fight, you felt that the power of Saul would catch up with Dimitri Bivol, but his defence was outstanding, and he just boxed the perfect fight to beat Canelo.
Even the head.
He looks like
Triple G
over you, and I was quiet.
I imagine that's the same kind of look that people have on their faces when they have to go to the emergency room to get something removed from their ass.
Like a toilet brush or something. I seen a guy on the telly once, Matty, done that. He shoved a toilet brush up his ass. He said he slipped in the shower, out of the shower, and fell on top of it. It sounds pretty plausible to me. What do you think?
Sure. Let's go with that. I truly fear for the person who can get an unlubricated.
Fucking move on, be fucked with you. Come on, the fucking middle of the night. Fuck's sake.
I've got to get up at 5, and it's my own fault too.
That gets you up.
You're the one who took us down that dark tunnel, Steve.
Mind yourself in the shower in the morning.
It was some dark tunnel. Shout out to this guy who left a message last week on the chat, LCFC1884. He says, boys, you missed an absolute corker. When the quote said no pun intended, it should have said no punch intended, because she's never landed one in her life. Love the show. He then added, by the way, Drayton Manor is a complete waste of money. Rides are well outdated. Forget the Drayton Manor bit. I meant to send that to my auntie's cousin, but the boxing bit stands.
Was that you the road? Everything okay at home, pal?
Yeah, that was me. Oh, dear.
Fucking hell.
Oh, Fair play to him. I don't know what
Drayton
he's
Manor
doing.
sounds like he could be an opponent for Saul Fires, doesn't he?
Aye.
Up against Alton Towers, good old Drayton Manor Park. Been there many times. Ryan Garcia was tweeting out during the weekend. He said, I was running and an insect flew right in the back of my throat. Literally stopped trying to make myself throw up and it didn't come out. Hopefully it's not eating my insides. Maybe good protein, I hope. Mick Shoes nominated him there. Is this an excuse coming up ahead of his next fight?
Yeah, it's just interesting that he's swallowing fly for protein purposes. I'm sure he can get his protein from elsewhere, to be honest with you.
So he probably does as well.
Yeah, probably.
Judging by his Twitter feed, that's the least of the things he needs to worry about going down the back of his throat, I think.
I tell you what, he walked back that Canelo comment last week pretty quick, didn't he? I think he was slagging off Canelo after he took that L last week, and then all of a sudden they deleted it. So
he said I was salty, forgive me, or something. Canelo took shots at me
what
first.
was the video during the week there? What was the video? You know, they showed a video during the week. It was total fucking pish.
It was the one where he has like, there's this like social media trend, isn't it, with them and Jake Paul and all, where they like hold up their arms behind their head to take a body shot off of like a pro fighter. I had some old man, I don't know who the fuck it was, in his garden, and your man puts his arms around his head, then Garcia like flattens him with a body shot and then did a victory lap around his little pool out in his back garden. It was fucking crying, right, man. The pool was just full of his tears as well. It wasn't a real pool, it was just, he just cries into it.
So really, we've got to hope that insect is, or whatever it was, it flew down his throat, is actually eating his insides, hopefully. So maybe
fucking,
just wind them up and tell him that, actually.
Dean White about to become Dean Garcia and fucking throw that one in the logbook of excuses. That
Big A says the insect's name was Oscar. Here's Eddie, Matty. He says, we'll just sign Gervonta Davis. That'll be quite funny. It would be pretty funny because it's never going to happen.
Well, if he doesn't get on to fucking the zone, there's going to be no fights for him. Gervonta, so fucking make the right move, pal.
Aye.
Yeah, I think that move would result in Gervonta Davis moving up to 147 pounds and getting knocked out by somebody he shouldn't, and then Eddie having a similar reaction to the one that we just saw earlier.
I tell you what, he better deliver on it by him, because it'll be quite funny if he doesn't fucking get him signed, eh? Even Ed.
I know one person
signing with Eddie, man. The Tank.
No chance, never.
You know, Tank Davis is a close personal friend of mine.
Can you imagine Eddie Hare walking about the main streets of Baltimore? Holy shit, man! Oh man, coming! Holy shit!
I couldn't, but I'd like to see it, Andy.
Oh no, that's what I was thinking.
What's that female again in there who cut about with the fucking nail gun? It'd be a shame if Eddie kind of walked into one of those. Snoop
from the way.
A shame if Eddie could maybe get caught in a fucking flying nail or something like that, you know. Either Ed.
One person you might feed to Gervonta Davis. Could you imagine? Is this chap Campbell Hatton?
The thing is, the Bond villains are going to love that him getting cast in that role, because nobody like fucking knock any cunt out.
What you got to understand here, Steve, is that there's a great storyline to this fight. It is revenge for Ricky over Floyd. Campbell taking on fucking Floyd's protege and beating him at Maine at fucking the city of Manchester Stadium. Let's do it.
He'd do it too. He'd do it, man. He would. He'd serve up a body, Eddie. He's been had a mare this week. Dominic Henry putting up this one, Andy. Eddie Hearn. I slid into Vadim K-Team Bivell's DMs nearly 5 years ago. I would like to talk with you about Bivell. He protesteth too much, I think.
Oh, it does, mate. What did Bivell say to him last week? Eddie, I'm sorry I destroy your plans. Get him fucking up, you cunt.
Bivell is brilliant, by the way, isn't he? We didn't know.
He's...
Did anyone see the fucking clip of him where he points to Canelo after the fight? He points to his arms and he just gives him the little no.
No. You
Brilliant.
were better. I A side. I come down 160.
I'm loving Bivell, you know. He's a character, isn't he?
Yeah. Good lad, Bivell.
He seems to have that wee bit.
We said that ages ago about Bivell, didn't we, on the pod? We're going back as far as 2016 about Bivell on the pod. We've always said it.
Here's one for you, Andy. Juan Torres, right back on the May the 27th against Ron Guerrero for the ABO Intercontinental Jaguar title in Harlingen, Texas.
And the ABF Heavyweight Championship fight. What's that?
I didn't think that was a fight poster. I thought it was like the thumbnail for a Porky video.
I tell you what, Steve, see the guy Guerrero. He had a stroke. Look at the left side of his face. Looks like it's fucking drooping.
Yeah, it looks like he's forgot to shave or something. I don't know what's going on there, man.
That belt though, man, that's what it's all about.
They're raising money.
Jaguar belt.
They're raising money for Bell's palsy research.
Vengeance. It's called Vengeance, Matty. I wonder who they're having vengeance on. That's the question.
Fucking the handsome people?
Maybe. Ricky El Tornado Alvarez is there as well. So is Raphael Murphy. So
Raphael Murphy looks like he's seen better days as well. But there's a few of them.
Better decades.
Intercontinental Jaguar heavyweight title.
It's
There's
not
a
the
lot
outright
going
title.
on there.
Hang on.
Going on there.
Look at the Friday,
Lions in
May
the
the
camp.
27th. Look at the Friday, May the 27th bit. I think that this has been rescheduled. I don't think that 27. That's covering up another date. Look.
That's a Friday. Yeah,
You're trying to suggest, Steve, that ticket sales might be slow for the Intercontinental Jaguar title.
The thing is, tickets only start at $25, Rob. I mean,
$25. Fucking hell. See a Premier League match for that, wouldn't you? Fuck's sake.
okay, you get BT Sports for a month for that. I just noticed that date. It's obviously covering up on the old previous date. Fucking poverty, man, isn't it? Pure poverty.
I don't know. It looks. I have my suspicions that this might be a giant money laundering event. I don't know.
Just need your mate, Rob, you man, Mr. Low Kicks. That's one of his posters, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think you just need Bitcoin Rodney and fucking Repo Rick now to fucking MC proceedings here to get the party started. Vengeance, look at the
Right,
the
Matty,
font on Vengeance looks like one of them fucking 1980s fucking B action movies, don't it? Like, it's not quite Rambo. It just has a fella with a Rambo headband. Vengeance. This is not Rambo.
Yeah.
He killed his brother.
When all other options have been exhausted, we bring in the E-Team.
Starring Raphael Murphy.
Jamel Charlo. I have different type of power when I punch. Hagler, Hearns put together. You nominated that, Matty. Why on earth did you nominate that?
Man.
That reminds me. Sorry.
Motherfucker just used to shut up, dude. You just used to shut up.
The guy Artman, you know Artman.
The racist.
The head of the LDBC. He's apart from drawing pictures of himself, portraits of himself with Malcolm X in his stomach. By the way, it's a weird fucking skeleton he's drawn at the moment to show what he's made of. He put up a picture of Mel Charlo last night and said, "The Marvin Hagler of my generation." Marvin Hagler. What the fuck? Have you ever seen Marvin Hagler fight, Artman? Fuck's sake. Marvin Hagler and Jarrell Miller, such fucking striking similarities, man. So, and as people, they're practically identical.
Well, they're quite moody, I suppose.
Fucking War Charlo.
He's classy in that art, man, isn't he? There's definitely something not quite connecting, I think.
He was doing rap videos. He was doing a rap video, and he's walking down the road in this fucking video, and he's actually carrying a bottle of Hennessy. But what people didn't realise, it's not a litre bottle. It's like a fucking quarter bottle he's carrying about with him. It's like fucking like cost you about fucking $10 or some shit.
He was doing the pads, Andy, last time I saw him, saying he was training because he thought he could fight for a Commonwealth title or something.
Well, I didn't want to mock the afflicted, but there's certainly something special going on there. Like,
well, maybe he was just skimping on the big spending because he owes so many people money on the Wilder story fight.
That's right. He welched in a few bets, didn't he? Untrustworthy. That was snidey,
Can't have a Welcher.
No, good old art man. Mighty Max has been nominated here by Brian King, Andy. He said if Terence Crawford goes undisputed at 147 and 154, making him a 3-weight undisputed champion, he may just very well be greater than Floyd.
Fucking hell, man.
Tell you what, right? He's not greater than Floyd.
That,
but would you give Crawford a shot at 47 of beating Floyd? Or at 40?
Some fight.
Yes.
Some fight.
Yeah. Definitely at 147. It would be a good fight.
I'm surprised, Steve, that you'd say such a thing considering your terrible, terrible opinions on Terence Crawford over the years.
I have made my opinions quite clear, Matthew. Not Crawford's talent. It's his resume of fighter that annoys me, not his ability. Which even further frustrates me that he's fought nobody. I'm not going to go on this rabbit hole now. You're not going to bait me. You're not going to bait me in. You're not going to bait me in. Moving on.
I'm trying to get your blood pressure up, so it's 1 o'clock in the morning. You're like, goddamn son of a bitch.
I ain't going to sleep tonight.
Don't roll me up now. Tabraiz Akram has been nominated by Ian along with many other people. I think Del Boy is a nightmare for Wilder. Del Boy Trotter. Oh,
fucking hell, man. I mean, honestly, Wilder will get his wish having a body on his record if he fights Del Boy, by the way.
Jesus.
Fucking 100%.
We got to be honest, yeah. We got to be honest.
Yeah.
What is wrong
I
with
hope
these
we fucking
people?
die. Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, obviously, we've not seen Wilder since the Fury fight, so we just don't know what he's all about at this point. Mentally.
Could see that fight happening, though. You could see that
Yeah,
fight
you could
happening
do.
easily.
Comeback fight. Del's all about the paydays these days. He's wanting to fight anybody for the payday. But at what cost, though, man? He's fucking
I'd like to
racking
see
up some
Wilder
miles,
versus Ruiz. Wilder versus Ruiz is a great fight, I think.
Fuck yeah.
No. Andy Ruiz.
John Ruiz.
Fuck no, mate. I'd rather see John Ruiz than fucking Andy Ruiz, man.
No, I think that's
You'd be
that's a really
incredibly
exciting
quiet
fight,
after that fight.
Andy Ruiz, though, has anyone not capitalised on winning the heavyweight championship of the world as effectively as him in recent years? I mean,
you really go on.
Depends on how much you love tacos.
Yeah,
it's definitely it was Buster Douglas proportions of fucking not giving a shit, wasn't it? Like
in recent years, I mean, God.
Douglas put himself in a diabetic coma. He fucking ate that much, man.
Ruiz tried.
Yeah, I remember seeing Ruiz on a chat show, and the fight wasn't that far out. Like, and he was fat as fuck. I was like, and there was rumors flying that he wasn't training. And I was looking at him, and I was going, man, like any day, just fucking take the gold chain off you, say goodbye to Jimmy Fallon, and get back in the fucking gym for another 6 months. The world is going to be yours. Like, he's like, nah, I'm gonna fucking.
See when he fought Joshua in Saudi, when he hit the scales, it was 292. I was that shocked. I was making excuses for him. I was like, he's got to be wearing like ankle weights or stuff in his pocket for fuck's sake.
Yeah, we thought he was on the wind-up, didn't he? We couldn't believe he was only 300 fucking bills going.
No, he's really that fat.
Has he got a bulletproof vest on there? He didn't have a t-shirt on at the time. He's got a bulletproof vest on there. It's got to have. 292 pounds.
Remember they derobed him then in the ring, and you're like, oh fuck,
shit. Well, like, I got this complete because guys were trolling me. I was like, okay, I got it wrong. Like, I was like, there's no way, absolutely no way that he could have just sold his title like that, looking that way. I couldn't believe it. £290. Fucking Jesus. Diabetes.
Johnny Nelson's on the wind up again here, talking about Ben Whittaker. I'm so excited to follow this young fighter's story. This fighter is mixed between Floyd Mayweather and early David Haye, Prince Nassim Hamed. No pressure then, Rob.
What a weird mix of fucking styles as well. If you just said Mayweather and Hamed, you might fucking David Haye as well. Why is he getting thrown in the mix? Like,
see, this is what I'm saying. It pisses you off, man. You got a young fighter.
Shagging Reed Order.
He's not even turned.
Ben Whittaker.
He's not even turned pro yet, right? And he's already getting fucking like mixed. He's getting told he's a hybrid Floyd, David Haye, Prince Nassim Hamed. How the fuck is that possible? Let the guy be himself. Why is he going to be a fucking Floyd? Why is he going to be David Haye? Look, he did the fucking Adrian Brunner all the years. Oh, he's the Floyd Mayweather heir apparent. No, he's not. I fucking told you for years he wasn't. He didn't listen to me, but it fucking ended up being true. Give the guy a chance. Fucking hell.
He's a bad troll, isn't he? Cocaine Dawkins nominated Billy Dibb. Billy's thrown his hat into the ring 3 years after losing to Amir Khan, who's recently retired. Billy says if George Kambosos defeats real Devon Haney on June the 5th, he and I could set up an all-Australian showdown for the undisputed lightweight championship of the world. It will be the first and probably the last time something like this could happen for two Australians. Now, that's history. No. Put that in the past, I think, Andy, Billy. Put that in the past.
If you go
Billy,
forward with... Go ahead, Rob.
Somebody else knocking on the door there, mate. I think you know who he is. He's a priest, you know. Yeah.
Divine intervention coming for you, Billy boy.
If this is what you end up with, it definitely should be the first and last time that it ever happens.
So he's not fought in how long now? When was that Can fight? 3-4 years ago?
2019.
Fucking Jesus, man. I've got one as well. I've got one coming for Devon Haney as well.
He moved up like 4 weight classes to fight us.
Great bunch of lads, the Australians, aren't they?
Aye.
Oh, yeah.
Banter down there, like Paul Gallen going the distance in the Australian title fight. Fucking hell.
Oh. Next one here from Paul Baker, nominating Kingpin Boxing.
Where's Danny when you need him?
What about this then? Astrid Wett versus Elle Brook. One of them's a porn star. The first ever co-main women's influencer boxing fight. Who will come out on top?
Oh, I think they're both porn stars.
Come on, come on.
They're both porn stars. I've had a look at their box recs, the two of them, to see how their resumes stack up against each other. There's not much in it. It's a very tight one.
Rob doing the research.
They've actually missed. He's probably been on X-Hamster and RedTube trying to get on the load.
Only box rec.
Trying to get the reach, the vital statistics. Like it's a B or a C cup type thing, you know.
Who's going to come out underneath?
They've missed a trick here.
I don't know, but I want to see Baumgartner get the winner.
I'm saying they need to have they've missed a trick here with actually advertise this. They need to have the hashtag who comes out on top. Or who comes on top, basically.
That's it. Need Boxing Asylum in the marketing department for this, certainly. Donnie's leading the fucking legal papers as we speak.
Setting it up for us. I think it's on sale soon. I'll tell you what, if it was maybe like say like a, you know, what's her name?
Who said they should call it Fists of Fury?
That was big, eh?
Finger blasting.
That one's too forced. The other one was good.
Matty, you're gonna have to break this fight down on your chicks with dicks.
It's weird because the other one would be a lot more forced, actually.
I can't wait, mate. I can't wait for you to break it down. I'm going to listen to that one. Actually.
I don't think I'll be breaking this one down, Andy.
So,
I tend to stick to the upcoming title fights.
The 24/7 beforehand is going to be immense.
I'm looking forward to this. How can you watch
this?
Yeah.
What's the stage
Judy
name?
doing the ring card girl?
She should be like.
Yeah, should be. Oh dear. Right, let's move on quickly, shall we? David Avanesian is ready for anyone, says Frank Warren. Stephen's not impressed. He says lack of head movement and unrealistic combinations. Connor Ben would smash that kid. James Becker's nominated him for that one.
Connor
well,
Ben,
then make
baby.
the fight.
Yeah, make the fight. Make the fight, Tommy.
Jerome Ennis is running scared for Connor Ben. By did you hear that story?
Yeah, I can believe it.
What's unrealistic combinations, by the way? If he's fucking throwing them out there and they're not real.
He's throwing a hook at the bag. What the fuck is it? It's unrealistic. How's that unrealistic shot? It's a left hook he's throwing there. What's going on? How's that unrealistic?
Yeah, Andy, talking to Jerome Ennis, someone in the boxing
simulations to the metaverse.
Someone in the Boxing Nutters group said last night, Jerome Ennis had on the front of his shorts "Catch Your Body" and on the back of his shorts "R.I.P. Grandma."
Grandma, yeah, that's right.
The two are related.
yeah. I didn't want to throw the shit amongst the pigeons here, but look at Avanesian's trainers. Is that New Balance or is that the Russian Z on his shoes?
I think it's.
Tell you what. I wouldn't be fucking volunteering to tell Boots Ennis he was up for Belly of the Week because of his R.I.P. grandma shorts, would you?
Even Conor Ben would tell him.
Low is one thing, but you know.
Oh gosh! Right, next few. Final few. Here's a good one. Ron Lewis tweeted out, my French is a bit rusty, but think it was 116, 112, 115, 113, 114, 114, Yoka Bakole. Guillermo Quitondo says, yeah, Ron, French must be very rusty considering it was a fucking 10-rounder.
Leron Lewis then? Taking his L.
What did they hear? Because he even deleted the tweet.
Oh, that was a cracker, that one.
Fucking brilliant.
I can't even remember how to say the monkey is on the branch.
I'm going to hear ideas on. That's what I was thinking of as well.
Whoa, Yoka Bakole.
What the fuck is that?
Bizzle jab counter.
Camel hat in between fights.
It looks like that wee guy out at WWE. What's his name?
I don't know.
I don't know what his name is either.
It does look a bit like Hatton in the 24/7 for Floyd. We know you're a good fighter, Floyd. You told us.
This is apparently the guy singing the national anthem for the YouTuber event got nervous and started over. This is his attempt number 3 now.
Oh, is this a Triller? Is this a Triller event, mate?
No, I don't know. YouTuber event. Apparently.
Oh, brilliant, mate.
If you think the number of times he's had to restart the national anthem is bad, you should know how many times he's fucking started dieting again.
I'm surprised he never had a heart attack through cholesterol trying to get fucking through that.
Did he have to restart because he was out of breath in the first 2 goals? Or
gas,
I tell you what, this
gas in the air, auctioning.
He's lucky Ozzy's not on the pod because Ozzy would be appalled that fell in this
fucking state of him.
It's an absolute disgrace.
That hair's appalling, mate. It's appalling hair.
I fancy coming in that shape.
Chippy tits. Okay, that's
It's
one.
Cougs with his mate. What do you call this fellow again? Everything.
Darshan, I give him.
Darshan, isn't it?
I looked at that picture. Is Darshan in fucking traction here, by the way? Has he got a fucking body vest? I don't know what it is. Is there something wrong with his back? He's getting straightened out.
A lot of fellas that take photographs with Coogan have some kind of vest on them. All right, so maybe.
I'm gonna say bulletproof. Oh dear!
Fucking looks like milk tray.
tell you what, Coogan's not getting that goatee beard seen professionally, isn't he? Eh?
Military man reboot,
It's
shite.
fucking
Absolute
sculpted
shite.
on him there.
Coogan's just going, give us another fiver, mate.
Yeah, I got a water bill to pay next week.
The lads.
Look at his leg. Is his legs bent, by the way? Aye, look at his left leg there. There we go. See?
Poor Coogs. Dalwa Islam.
What, man? He's actually, sorry, mate. Go and go back to just briefly. That's how poor Coogan is these days. He's wearing fucking ripped jeans. Look at the state of them. Fucking poor cunt, man. Somebody needs to sub him some money.
People pay extra for that shit. It's fucking ridiculous.
Exactly, mate.
And I saw, man, you know people pay $2,000 for a pair of Japanese fucking denim jeans? It's fucking insane. Just because they use real indigo.
There we are. Fashion Asylum. Mike Coppinger tweeting out about the Ennis KO. Dalwa Islam wasn't impressed. He said, "Looked like a dive. I want to see the replay." James.
Yeah, I said that. The YouTube comments were awash. But that's a dive.
Dived under a right-hander.
Say it was a dive. Poor fella couldn't even stand up straight.
Apparently, because he was smiling, that was proof that he actually took a dive. He wanted no smoke from young boots. Apparently,
he's smiling because he'd been rewired.
That's one of them smiles that you do when you don't know what the fuck hits you. It's like, oh,
that's what I said, Rob. He was like, where the fuck am I?
You know, you look like I could call it there, but he was probably fully aware of what was going on, but the body just wouldn't react to his fucking
that's exactly
brain,
what it was. Yeah.
You know?
If you want to see a dive, in the most literal fashion possible, watch Paul Williams against Kermit Cintrone.
Right in the ring,
that's a dive.
Right in the ring on the stretcher.
Michael Gomez versus fucking Peter McDonough.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Steve Collins never got work on RT again, did he? Because he said that he threw the fight.
What gave him that impression?
He was ahead of his time, I think, wasn't he? When it comes to scandals. Moving on. Boxing Social, nomination for the scorecards in the Bakole fight. Billy Nelson there alongside Mr. Bakole. Terry Woodfine was having a go at Josh Kelly and his moves in the ring. He said the state of that. Remember when we had the Matchroom mob telling us that this was the second coming of Roy Jones? Liam Dole wasn't impressed. He said literally nobody said that. Until they dug out a tweet by Tom Abella. Closest thing to Roy Jones is Josh Kelly, May 2019.
Twitter never forgets, mate. It never forgets. Triple left hook Kelly. I tell you what. See, he's up to 147 right after getting trashed off Avanesium. He can't make 154 now. That career's fucking.
Yeah, it's done.
It's done now, mate. It's going to be. And then once Eddie's fucked you off, man, you go to Channel 5 and you can't be arsed making weight. And Adam Booth coming out saying with the fucking excuse, oh, well, we notified them a week before that we were going to want the fight at 157. Nobody gave him the memo. But Booth's had fucking previous for fucking trying to get some stuff changed behind the scenes. And let's not fucking forget as well about the supposed illness that mysteriously appeared after a fucking weigh-in. What was that fight? It was
Kelly Avanesian?
Aye, fucking, and it never got made. What happens? Eventually gets fucking seen in the end, but
he used to ditch the dark fraud, man. He's all over the place with his daft monologues and stuff. He's shot
to Adam Booth.
What do they want to fight 157 pounds for, by the way?
Aye, if you tell someone it's 157 pounds and they say no thanks, that's not an agreement. You haven't made an agreement with the person. They've said no.
Is it in the contract that you got it in writing? If you got a response, if you say no, you haven't, you're fucked. Fucking honestly, man, these cunts. I think Booth, as I said, he had previous for like overprotecting his fighters, trying to get them the fights over the, or what do you call them, over the weight fights. Basically, just basically means he doesn't need to make the weight or kill himself trying to make it. But doesn't it bode well if he can't make 154? Literally a year after moving up in weight.
When he brought Andy Lee down to light middleweight, that was it for me. I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing, man? What is he doing?
Terrible, yeah, he looked terrible.
Oh,
horrible.
He's like a metaskeleton.
It was a fight in Denmark, wasn't it?
Floyd was going to use him to pay for something.
It was that, and I believe the Jackson fight was at 54 as well. That's why he's all over the place at the stop. He was getting fucking dropped all over the shop in the first couple of rounds because he's completely depleted.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the John Jackson. Right, final few. Oh, here we are. In fact, we've just Covered it there. Adam Booth, to clarify, Josh Kelly did not come in overweight. More than 2 weeks prior, I agreed with the promoter the weight of 157 pounds for Josh. The opponent wasn't told then about the weight. He continually refused to agree, yet still weighed in, having known the entire time at Channel 5 Sport.
Who's the promoter then?
Sauerland, I imagine.
So, what did Callie say? Did anybody catch his comments in?
I don't know, he's probably spaced out, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably. Well, look at my picture, mate. He's fucking strung out like Tony Montana.
I cut in 157. I thought you meant something else, Adam.
I think he's cutting 157 keys, I think, mate, to be honest with you.
Cutting it nice and easy.
Making it into some nice council stuff, you know.
Tom Khan on the BBC Breakfast, never going to walk into a gym again for a couple of weeks. Never failed. He's class in here, man. He's given us so many good moments out and in the ring.
He needs to get onto the Apollo Theatre, man. Get on the comedy circuit. That's what he needs to do.
You see, he was out in Dubai during the week, and he stopped Floyd for a photo, didn't he? Like, and he was all excited that he had Floyd in the picture. Like, and Mayweather was looking at him like as if he fucking didn't really know who he was. I was just expecting him to just go, you know, you're a hell of a fighter. We in Dubai. You're a hell of a fighter. I'm a hell of a fighter. Make smart investments and move on. You know what I mean?
I'm 15-0, baby.
Floyd probably thought he was back at the signing session again.
I'm the great one because I'm so great. The great room.
Matty, you sent this one in to me.
Holy shit! What is that?
See, I've been searching day and night for this guy's name, but he's a Triller executive. This is from the card last night, and I think he was heavily influenced by the hairstyles in the Hunger Games.
It was got an angel
fucking
there, isn't it?
The hair like a fucking donut.
Looks like fucking
Drago.
Drago. Yeah, I thought I'd have the Drago. Fucking. I would break him.
But like, there's a hole in there. Like the hair from the center is like pulled up to create this fortified ring. It looks like he's trying to like catch. It looks like a bird's nest. Are there eggs in there? Is a robin going to come and land on this man's head?
Real? Is it
But it's Triller. Who knows?
I don't know what's going on anymore.
He has a haircut of a fella that'd be in the pub on his own in Ireland that'd just come over to your table and start telling you about fights he had in the fucking 80s. He hasn't moved on from here smoking a fag. I fucking cracked him, man. You want to see me? Cracked him.
He must do some bit, yeah.
We wish him well. All right, final couple of videos. This one was sent in. It was taken from the Zone during the Serrano-Taylor fight. Eddie and that prick Jake Paul getting involved.
Is that what these man bags look like these days, by the way?
Fucking Eddie's looking well, isn't he? Bow tie killer at a problem child. He's like there.
I love how enthusiastic he was, man. I think that was fucking great.
I tell you what, right? If that's what we're all having all the money in the world gets you, I don't want to have it.
He's wearing that for a bet, surely. Fuck it. Fuck me, man.
Bow tie killer and problem child cracker. Oh, good old Eddie. And the final one I've got is Eddie again. I think he's talking about Canelo's future plans after he meets Dimitri Bivol. Not sure how that went. Maybe someone will let me know in the future.
Ready in November, December. So what are you doing with Yard? You're going to wait a year for a fight. And by the way, guess what's going to happen to the winner of Better Be Ever against Joe Smith? They're going to fight Canelo Alvarez for the undisputed 175-pound title that every sanctioning body's going to say yes to.
No.
Evening, Ed.
Evening, Eddie. Legs are shaky, Eddie. Legs are shaky.
Oh,
Bean's giving it to him this week as well, isn't he?
Was
he?
he?
You left us with nothing. Yeah, you left us with nothing. What are you complaining about for? You left us with nothing, he said to him. In emphatic Bean style. And Bean will never forget that. So,
where will we?
Good old Bean. That is all the ones that I have got. Matty, I know you sent the Jamel Charlo in to me. Do you have any more to add into the mix?
Nope, just those two this week.
Okie dokie. Any from you to throw into the pot, Andy?
Yeah, you have Yildirim got knocked out there on fucking it was Friday or Saturday night. Got dropped 3 times, I believe. So aye,
He's on fumes. You'll do him these days, isn't
Aye, he's been fighting quite regularly actually, to be honest.
Yeah, didn't he fight Canelo? Why did he piss off
15
after
months
that?
ago. 15 months
Why
ago.
didn't he fucking just retire after that? He surely got the bag with the Canelo fight. Fuck's sake.
I know.
Mr. Roboto.
I'm going to put one in for Eddie again. De La Hoya's fucking really kind of hitting it to him. He says the fact that the promoter of this event pushed Bivol on Canelo, it was the dumbest fucking move in boxing history. It's not knowing boxing. It was that fucking stupid move. Whoever allowed Canelo to fight Bivol, I would never have allowed Canelo to fight Bivol. De La Hoya said to Lance Pugmire of USA Today. Look exactly what happened. Canelo's at the top of the world. He's the king. Why fight a guy that Canelo fights 10 times and he loses 10 times to? He has nothing to gain, nothing to win. Nobody fucking knew Bivol. Evening, Edward.
Delivered with a fucking large fucking portion of salt there from Oscar on top of it. Get into you.
But we'll love him even the more for sticking it to Mr. Hernall, Rob.
Tell you what, like that's you got to agree. Like you got to agree. Who the fuck? Like that looks like the worst decision of all time. That's what I'm saying. You got your channel is now your app. Sorry, is now dependent on Anthony Joshua beating Usyk and Canelo beating Bivol in a rematch, or else you're up shit's creek, dude. Evening, Edward.
Evening, mate. And one more for me, Steve. One for Jeff Mayweather. Right? So apparently Jeff trained Devin Haney for like 9 years as an amateur or whatever it was. Anyway, Jeff Mayweather apparently picking Kambosos to beat Haney. I think it's purely because the fight's done in Australia or whatever. Anyway, Devin Haney's seen this tweet and he just retweeted it by saying, fucking hater.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I've put one in for Jeff Mayweather. Well, I suppose Devin Haney for calling it Jeff Mayweather. So that's all I've got this week, mate. Oh, sorry, the score, the judges in France last night as well. Fucking disgraceful.
Yeah,
I was going to say that.
Absolutely. Rob, any from you, please? Anybody of the week's, Rob?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, I was trying to. It's raining here, so I was trying to touch the fucking mic to unmute it, and it wasn't
I
happening.
thought that was Sid James for a second then.
Like trying to get the back of Winter's pants.
As I said.
Raining in Ireland, you don't say.
Oh, yeah. Shock horror in May. Yeah, I had one now. You have to fucking make me forget it. What is it?
Mine is for Rob for being in the rain with his phone.
Who the fuck was it? Oh shit! I'm gonna have to come back to it.
That's okay. We'll run through them, Rob, and if you remember it, you can throw it in, and if you don't, you can't.
I bet you I'll get it in the post-fight pod, like always. Oh yeah, no, I got it. It was I don't know. I should have clipped it because I was just had too much shit on this week to do it. But there's a clip of Malignaggi, I think with IFL or one of them, talking about the result from Bivol and Canelo and talking about the scorecard. And for a minute he just morphs into Aussie, but he's doing his own voice and he's like, "How did they have it? I don't understand how the scorecards. Now they fought to Canelo 9-3 to Bivol. They had a 4-zip down." And he goes, "It's an absolute disgrace." It's just the very same way as Aussie says it, like the perfect time. And I want to fucking morph them into one, like if I was so inclined. But yeah, I was personally on the fucking deck the minute I heard it, burst out laughing, like just couldn't stop thinking of Aussie and Paulie Malignaggi at the same time.
Oh, I thought he was going to say records are for DJs or something.
Oh, it would have been brilliant. We'll try and get a clip of that one. This guy's a fucking chippy tits. But it's an absolute disgrace.
Oh gosh. Any more from you, Rob?
No, that's it. I can't unmute the fucking mic now. You're just gonna have to let me hang in there for the whole fucking thing.
That's okay. We love having you. Right, let's have a quick recap then before we do our picks. Ryan Garcia got a nomination, so did Edward Hearn. Campbell Hatton for the next James Bond. It's Eddie again. The ABO Jaguar Intercontinental title. Jamel Charlo, for comparing his power to Hagler and Hearns put together. Mighty Max for talking about Bud. Akram for wanting Del Boy to get killed by Wilder. Johnny Nelson talking about Ben Whittaker. Billy Dibb for wanting to get smashed up by Kambosos Haney winner. The two porn stars there. David Avanesian and Stephen getting a nomination. Ron Lewis for getting his French a bit rusty. Ricky Hatton lookalike for struggling to do the national anthem. Cougs and his pal there. The guy who said that Custio Clayton took a dive. The judges in the French fight. Terry Woodfine arguing with this guy talking about Roy Jones and Josh Kelly. Adam Booth for his part in the whole shenanigans. Carl on BBC Breakfast. And finally, this guy with the bird's nest haircut. Shout out to our videos. 2 or 3 for Eddie there, actually. I tell you what, Eddie's put in a strong week this week.
Yeah,
Andy, who are you going for?
I've got to go for Eddie, mate, to be honest with you. He's been all over the place. It's been great to see, actually. Fantastic to see. And as Rob says, he is one heavyweight title fight away from fucking losing his biggest fucking cash cow as well. So, even Ed.
Poor fella, man. He's had a nightmare with Canelo as well. He's been involved with the biggest fighter in the world. And during that time, he served up Rocky Fielding, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, all of which completely shit the bed. Yildirim. Then Canelo goes over to Showtime to unify for Undisputed against Caleb Plant in a massive fight that gets made even bigger when they're fighting at the weigh-in. And then he goes back over to DAZN to get upset by Dimitri Bivol. He couldn't script it.
Are you enjoying this, Stephen? Because I'm fucking loving it.
What a turn up for event! What a turn up for the books that is for Eddie taking over the US market.
Even
no
Ed.
fights.
No
fights for me either, by the way.
Yeah, if anyone loses, there's going to be no fights for me.
House.
That's what he's going to be saying next. There'll be no fights for me on DAZN. No, literally, there'll be no fights left for me.
Imagine Oscar with his shit stable actually outlasting Hearn on the zone. Holy shit, man.
I keep forgetting Oscar even still has a stable. I just picture that now that he's in retirement, running around with his new mat, like that's at all the fights with him, and that he's not really actively promoting.
Eddie for you then, Andy?
Eddie for me, mate.
I'm going for Eddie as well. Cry me a river, says Cal Cheds. Are you going for
Cry
Matty?
me a river. I think you got to go for Eddie, that poor son of a bitch.
3 for Eddie. Rob, who are you going for?
Eddie.
I think Vengeance is up there with a strong contender for fucking legacy purposes, but no, it's got to be Eddie, hasn't it? Like, it's got to be Eddie. Shoulder punches and all that. Shoulder punches. Shut up, man. You know they don't count. Like, fucking Egypt. But he's having a rough week, man. His close personal friends are taking L's all over the place. So fucking, do you know what I mean? His close personal friend of Canelo's got to upset him. So you expect him to be emotional at a time like this. They're so close.
Exactly. See when you're close to someone and you get emotional. Do you think when Eddie walked out when he got home, you actually seen that picture of him and Saul Canelo Alvarez on his mantelpiece and just put it face down? He was too upset to look at him and his wee pal getting slapped a bit like a ginger-headed stepchild. Oh, sorry, yes, Ginger. Sorry, aye. You know what I'm saying? Ethan Ed. It's only banter at the end of the day, guys.
We all love Canelo. We love Canelo as fighters. We love Bivol as a fighter, but.
He puts a lot of money in our pockets, by that's why we love him, you know.
Absolutely.
Best interesting.
It's been a rough week for Eddie, but congratulations, sir. You have won the Value of the Week for episode 474. Just before we move back to Matty, shout out to our super chatters tonight, Gerard, Snoop Bob, and if there's any others and I've forgotten about you, sorry about that. Don't forget to join us over at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum as well. If you want to join the Boxing WhatsApp Nutters group and also the Prediction League that everyone's desperate to get into, including Rob Kelly, right? I'm off.
I thank everybody for joining us, all the people in the chat, always keeping it lively. Also, Andy Patterson, Steve Wellings, Rob Kelly for joining us. We do look forward to coming to you guys next week and getting into the action. We are inching closer to a very interesting couple of weeks in boxing. Until then, still some action, not the best action, but hey, a little bit of boxing beats none at all. Y'all have a fantastic week ahead.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to animals!
We want to be honest, yeah.
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum. You're a fucking asshole.
Rumple fucking Stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. I won't fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.